Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are here for the last group stage fixture of the Rugby World Cup 2023 competition. And the thing is, this competition, it's not completely set in stone as of yet for the quarterfinals. This game will determine who makes their way through to take on the English. It will either be Fiji or it will be Australia. Now, the stipulations for this game have been set. If Fiji win this game, or they walk away with at least 1 point, they will make their way through to the quarterfinals to take on the English. If they do not, and they lose this game by 8 points, for instance, or more, or they don't walk away with their bonus point for 4 or more tries, it will be instead Eddie Jones's Australia that take on the English in that quarterfinal. But Fiji, they are in the box seat. They got themselves the win over the Portuguese last week. The week prior to that, getting the win over the Australians, so building some quite nice momentum here. Looking to get that a little bit closer to the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals. But looking through at the starting lineup, first of all, for the Fijians, pretty similar to what we did see in the game up against the Georgians, with a few exceptions of rested players along the way. Aroni Maui at number 1, Sam Matavesi at number 2, and Luke Tangi will be 3. Now, Matavesi last week, he did struggle with the lineouts. The week prior to that, up against the Australians, there was also quite a bit of struggle from the Fijian hooker. So it's interesting that they have stuck with him, perhaps hoping he finds his form before those quarterfinal games. Asoana Silasila at number 4, and then Timo Mainavanua coming into the starting lineup. That is rather than Te Ehuaru Wharekadavita, who will instead be coming off the bench. Meri Delialangi comes in at number 6. That is to replace Lakema Tangi Valu. Lavani Botia keeps his starting spot, gets turnovers, 1 in the breakdown, makes a lot of tackles along the way. Also has been able to score a few tries. Viliami Mata at number 8, keeping his spot from the whole of this Rugby World Cup. They are very committed to him at 8. I thought maybe Delialangi might get that chance at 8 for this game, but instead going with Viliami Mata. I should also mention that they haven't given Vilive Mira, so one of the Fijian draw boys coming in, but not all for this match. Frank Lamani at number 9 with Vilamoni Botitu with his first start of this Rugby World Cup competition. He's come off the bench a couple of times in replacement of Caleb Muntz, who was injured at the start of the competition. In the midfield combo, it is Joshua Tuisova at number 12 with Waisia Naifta on the outside. These two have the ability of running rampage, and if they get it right here, they could both get themselves over the try line. Vinaya Haposi out on the left wing at number 11, so no Semi Radradra for this contest. Celestino Ravatamanda comes in on the other wing. He was one of the keys in the game for the Fijians up against England the last time that they did meet in the Rugby World Cup warm-up games. And Sorali Mangwala at number 15 to replace the inform Eliza Droa-Sisi. He's being rested, so he's rearing to go for the next game in the chat. We have got Amish and Chloe sitting in Tracy's VG man. And also let that tea party begin, says Kerr there. And what has happened in rugby, what has been dealt, says Cool Story Bro. We've had 2 very entertaining games so far throughout today. That first match between Japan and Argentina could have gone either way, and then the Argentines securing their spot in the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals. Then that match between Tonga and Romania. Both sides having some brilliant moments throughout. And now we're in that scenario of the last game in the group stage, match number 40 in this Rugby World Cup. After this one's finished, we've got 8 more, which I'm quite sad about because I've really enjoyed the process of doing these live streams each and every week. We've met so many new people, and it is awesome to have you all here once again for each and every one of these live streams. Fiji 42, Portugal 10. It's a prediction from Mornay. Hope it's going to be an entertaining game. I have a feeling it will be, because from this Portuguese lineup, we have seen a lot of potential. We've seen a lot of running rugby, and that is the style that the Fijians love. I think it's going to be a completely different game compared to what we saw between Fiji and Georgia, because Georgia, they were more of that structure, play a bit of physicality up front. Portugal are going to be all-out running rugby, and both sides, I think, are going to be breathing extremely heavily by the end of this game. Hi, guys, says Chloe there. And also we have got there, Fiji win. Will Australia be out of the World Cup? They certainly will be, even if Fiji lose this game. If they lose it by less than 7, or they get themselves 4 or more tries, they just need 1 point from this contest, and then the head-to-head between Fiji and Australia. Because Fiji won that game, they will advance through to the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals. Hey, mate, I'm back. Says go Planet in there, or go Travel Planet, I should say. And it's finally over the working weekend. Hi there, Hamish. Missed your earlier matches, but I'm here now. Says Roof. And there, a great job, Hamish. You are used to says Cobra, and we always in the tree. Makes us a super cup of tea, says Chloe in there. But looking through at the Portuguese starting lineup for this game, it is Francisco Fernandes at number 1, Mike Tejia at 2, and then Diogo Hassi Ferreira as the number 3, Madeira and Chiquera as the locking duo here. David Wallace, I should say, at number 6, Nicolas Martins at 7, and then Samus as the number 8. I think he's going to be one of the keys. Him versus Viliami Mata. I've said it all throughout the week. That is going to be a lot of physicality going head-to-head. The big thing for Fiji here is if they do win this game, they want to avoid injury as best they can, because the last thing they want to have here is to lose Tuisova, to lose Waisia Levu in that 4-pack. You do not want to be losing Lavani Borti at this stage of the competition. We saw what kind of impact that had for La Rochelle last year when they lost him. In fact, it might have been the year prior. Rugby does make the time fly. Sam Marquez as the 9 with Portela at 10. An exciting combination, a little bit of the old with the young. In that regard, Lima will be coming in at 12. Jose Lima, the captain, rather than it will be Appleton, who comes off the bench. Betancourt at 13. Mata out on one wing. Rodrigo or Rafael Storti out on the other wing. And then Manuel Cardoso as the man at number 15. So that is the starting lineup for both of these sides, ladies and gentlemen. And Hamish Kerr trying. But interesting, French boss is very happy. I'm living in Portugal, but I'd rather watch it here than at the pub. Says Go Travel Planet. And also, thanks for the wonderful commentary, Kiwi lads, keeping it real. And Portugal for me, because I've been there a few times, had a few drinks there. Says, flesh and ouch, my foot are killing me. Or sorry, my feet are killing me. Says, a black hand. So hopefully your feet do get better. Of course, the players out there on the field, they're going to have some sore muscles. Quite a quick turnaround compared to what we have seen in past weeks. Playing on the Monday here. If Fiji do manage to get themselves the victory, they will then have their game up against England on the Monday morning next week. But I should mention, if it is Australia who make their way through, that is going to mean that they've had a whole week to rest extra than the English, who did just have their game up against the Samoans recently. That was a hard-hitting affair that could have gone either way. These are some of the previous results we have seen. The only game that isn't registered on there is Tonga versus Romania. That ended 45 points to 24 in favour of the Tongans. But New Zealand starting off the round with a 73-0 win over Uruguay. That meant that they secured their spot in the quarterfinals to face either the Irish or the Springboks. France also securing their spot in their playoff game up against the Italians. Wales winning up against Georgia. That cemented themselves as number 1 in that pool. England narrowly beating Samoa, certainly being tested the most that they have throughout this whole Rugby World Cup competition. Ireland winning up against their Six Nations counterpart in the Scottish, managing to get themselves number 1 qualification, which means they're facing New Zealand in the quarterfinals. That also cemented the South Africans as the French opposition for the quarterfinals. Japan having a close game with Argentina, but the Argentines with Los Pumas digging deep managed to get themselves that victory. Tonga versus Romania, like I mentioned, Tonga won, so they will finish 4th in Pool B. And then this game to still determine who makes it through as the last quarterfinalists. There's still a lot on the line here, ladies and gentlemen, and these are the quarterfinals we have so far. Wales versus Argentina. I think that's going to be an absolutely epic encounter between the two teams. Ireland versus New Zealand will be the second quarterfinal that has taken place on that Sunday morning, and it is at the moment slightly in favour of Ireland. And the betting odds, England, they will be taking on either Australia or Fiji, depending on what happens in this contest. France versus South Africa, the last of the quarters. South Africa come in as the underdog. So interestingly enough, talking about form and talking about the history of the Rugby World Cup, currently two very different things. The two sides who have yet to win a World Cup are favourites against the sides that in the past have won 6 World Cups combined. And it just shows the landscape of rugby, how much it has changed over the last maybe even about, I'd say, 24 months since the draw was announced, how the sides have progressed upwards. At the moment, if Fiji make their way through, 8 out of the 9 top sides around the world will be in the quarterfinals. The only team missing out in that regard would be Scotland. We have got their well close game. Or how close was the Samoa-English game? 1 point set for Samoa, says Rich. Or sorry, that was Ruth. And yeah, they've had quite a few pretty solid performances throughout this Rugby World Cup, Samoa. It's just been the discipline at times that has hurt them. And alongside that, there's been other moments where just bad decision making has cost them games. And the thing is, they could have made it through to the quarterfinals. And I think they'll look back at this campaign and go, what could have been if we had done some things slightly differently? That is the last thing Fiji want, though. They want to be looking at this World Cup. They want to look at this game and go, we won that one comfortably. We're now taking on the English, who we did play not too long ago. Don't be sad, Hamish. You don't have to wait too long for the next World Cup. You do this all over again, says Morning. And of course, the next one will going to be taking place in Australia. Slightly better time zone for myself, but not so much for some of you guys who are overseas. And lads, look, it's a Kiwi go home Australia, says Albert. And also we've got the Hamish and Chloe, how many kids are you going to have together? Says VG Man, I tried everything except for dieting and eating right. Says cool story, bro. What is that for? And also anywhere we can watch the game free in Fiji. In Australia, I think the only option is Stan Sport Gold. But if you do sign up for a Stan Sport free trial, you will be able to watch this game. The only problem is your trial will end more than likely before the Fiji game next week up against England if they make it through. So what I would recommend, I mean, you could use your free trial now, but I would recommend using it next week so you can watch that England versus Fiji game on there. And also, if you use it late enough, you'll be able to see the other highlights of this game, or like the full match replay on Stan Sport. There's, are you still twitching over your Wales comment? Says Fisher, nah, it's cooled down completely at this point. And Fiji for me all the way over the try line, I agree. It makes a person more relaxed and together watching with All and Hamish, such a good person, says Chloe. And there, and also, what is your score prediction for this match? In my preview video, went 31 points to 21, I believe, was the prediction I went with. And then also in my original prediction, before the Rugby World Cup had taken place, I predicted Fiji to win this game 34 points to 20. So actually relatively similar, even though we've seen some of this World Cup take place. I'm still on that same boat. Review always make me hungry. Speaking of Kerr and speaking of boats, I guess that is a perfect segue, although not quite the segue into the benches. Are there benches on boats? They're probably called something else on a boat, I would think. But for the Fijians, Tavera Ikanaveri at number 16, Penny Ravai 17, and Masaki Donge will be slotting in as the number 18. Te Ahuaru Wharekara man who was in the starting lineup last week, now finds himself coming off the bench. Albert Tuisui at number 20 to add some power later on in the 80 minutes. Penny Matawalu, his first real chance of this Rugby World Cup competition. I am glad to see him get that chance, and it means that Kuravili's missing out, which means more than likely he is going to be playing in that quarterfinal fixture. Tite Tela at number 22, and Osefo Masi, I would have loved to see him in the starting lineup. In my Fijian prediction, I did go with Osefo Masi and Kalaveti Ravovo in that midfield, but instead the Fijians, they stuck with Tuisova and Naiathalevu. They want to make sure they've got momentum building towards that match up against the English. For the Portuguese, it is going to be Costa, Dines and Alves as the replacement forwards, Torgal and Granati as the other two, Bello, Thomas Appleton, the captain, and then Pinto, the last man to come off the bench. This game's going to be entertaining. I can just tell. You know when you get that feeling like a rugby game's going to be really good? Normally that is when the rugby games are the worst, but I think that this one, we're actually getting that right feeling, which is going to be just a brilliant running game of rugby. Over 1,000 metres run by one of these sides, I am predicting for this contest. I think it's going to be free-flying. Really, really exciting stuff just before the playoff games. But for the Fijians, as you can see, they got themselves the winner over the Georgians, 17 points to 12, a relatively close fixture, but they dug deep the second half, and the impact from the players off the bench is what managed to get them over the try line. We saw another close game for the Fijians the week prior up against the Australians. In fact, that was 2 weeks prior, 22 points to 15, getting themselves the 7-point win. And then their game up against Wales, that was a talking point for the first couple rounds of the Rugby World Cup. But the Fijians missing out. But the thing that helped them, and the thing that may help them through to the quarterfinals, is the fact they got 2 bonus points. Now, that hasn't happened too often throughout this Rugby World Cup competition, where a team has been within the 7 and scored the 4 tries. That was one of the exceptions to that rule. And the Fijians, no matter what, have had less than a split of 7 points, win or lose, throughout this Rugby World Cup competition. Whereas for the Portuguese, they have had a very close game up against the Georgians. As you can see there, 18 points to 18 in their second contest. Their game up against Wales, a little bit more one-sided than the game that we saw between Wales and Fiji. 28 points to 8. And then 34 points to 14. The Australians getting themselves their first win of the Rugby World Cup. That was last week. Now, I wonder if it's going to be a similar situation to like what we saw for the Romanians, how they seem to be down and out, but then in their last game of the Rugby World Cup, they stepped up and they almost got themselves that upset victory. And coming into this game, the Portuguese are heavy underdogs. They want to cause the upset, though. We have to wait, see if that is a possibility. We have got the roof. Nobody could compete with you, darling. Says Kerr. That was Kerr's words. Of course, Chloe is so polite. She got me as competition. Don't know which one of us appreciates Hamish and his smooth commentary the most. And also, Tosofiti Tosso says, Iceman in there, go Fiji go, says Eddie there. And also, let's go, and your score prediction is good, says Philip. And of course, that would actually give Fiji the bonus point more than likely if they were to get into the 30s. And Hello Kiwi says E3G, and Portugal will give a fight, go Portugal, says go Travel Planet. And you're the man, Hamish. We'll miss this, says Billy, although we are not going anywhere. We have still got 4 live streams next weekend for the quarterfinals. After the Rugby World Cup is over, we have still got plenty more videos and live streams coming up. The URC is going to be teams from Scotland, Ireland, South Africa, Wales, and Italy all taking part. We've got the Super Rugby. We've got the Sevens coming up in December. 22 degrees Celsius for this game in Toulouse. 9 kilometres of wind. Perfect rugby conditions, Bulla Fiji. And also go Fiji, says Philip there. And boys, do it for all the Fijians, says Ralulu there. I can imagine the offloads will be insane this game. Absolutely. Both of these sides want to keep that ball alive. No one wants to go to the breakdown too often anyway. I think that Fiji, with Lavani Bortia, he will be just getting into every single one that he can. The Fijians do not want to end up with the injuries, though, throughout this game. Tilly has said, morning Hamish, welcome in, and go the Fijian drawer, says Mr. Lerm. Yeah, a little bit more Fijian drawer flair added into the starting lineup, which is, of course, absolutely awesome to see. Hopefully, it's going to be a strong performance from them. Hi, Hamish, are you still fresh after all the games this weekend, says Dwayne? I'll be honest, I'm very sleep deprived. My eyes are extremely bloodshot, but we are still here. We are still rolling, and we've still got 8 more games left after this one of the Rugby World Cup competition. Fiji all day long, says Dilly, and hey, excited for this contest back in PG all the way, especially Tuisova, says Dylan. Yeah, that man's had a hard World Cup. He's been in some brilliant form throughout it, and when you learn about what has happened off the field for Tuisova, it just shows the type of competitor that he is, and the fact that, yeah, it's going to be a tough one after the World Cup for him, but for now, I feel like he's in rugby mode. He's trying to concentrate on the task at hand. Speaking of the task at hand, that could be the quarterfinals up against England next week. As you can see, the last time that these two sides played, for the first time ever, the Fijians are able to beat the English 30 points to 22. It was a historic win, and that is the first of perhaps many for the Fijians if they do continue that winning form they have found for themselves recently. Looking at, once again, the table, the way that it sits, and what this game means for this group. Fiji need 1 point. They don't even need to win the game. But of course, winning the game will be number 1 priority. Scoring 4 tries. If they can score 4 tries within the first half, no matter what happens in the second, whether that's Portugal scoring 50 points, Fiji will still be through to the quarterfinals. So they want to start quick, and I honestly believe that Fiji at times in this game will have a massive decision to make. Do you go for the corner to chase the try, or do you go for the close-fought win if it is going to be going down to the wire? Can they afford to give up 3-pointers? That's what Fiji will have to soon decide. We have got there, put warm tea bags on your eyes, it works, says Dimitri, and also go Fiji go, says Watasoni, and happy Fiji day, says Nurma, and also does teabagging work to keep you awake or just help with the look of tiredness? I really like the combo, Hamish, for South Africa. And what's your prediction for this game? I have said Fiji by 31 points to 21, or the other prediction that I gave at the start of the World Cup, which I honestly think I might stick with, is 34 points to 20 in favour of the Fijians. But either way, I see Fiji getting up in this game. I believe that Portugal will give them a good contest, but I believe that Portugal's big games for them may have already been. In this Rugby World Cup, they have had more than what was expected of them in terms of the way that they've performed. But then does that thrive, or does that drive them just that little bit more to go out and then put in a massive shift here to try and take down Fiji? It's going to be a great game. 42 points to 13, says Kerr. And also Kerr Lowell Says Yvonne, I wonder what Eddie Jones is doing at this moment. Hopefully Eddie has a bottle of whiskey nearby. Says Mornay. Well, that's the thing. Eddie Jones, he's been confident the whole way through this Rugby World Cup, and I have to give him credit in the fact that he hasn't given up on his side. Well, he's almost heading to Japan, but in terms of talking the talk, he's talked it. He hasn't been able to walk it yet, but if somehow the Australians make their way through to the quarterfinals, that would pretty much be a lifeline of not just the Wallabies, but also Eddie Jones's Wallabies coaching tenure, the Fijians. I just look through at this lineup and I see so much potential. My concern, of course, I've mentioned it all throughout the week, is with Sam Matavesi starting at number 2. I 100% would have gone with Tavita Ikanaveri, as Matavesi's lineouts have been bad in the last couple of weeks, and also just not quite doing enough off the lineout side of things to warrant being in the starting lineup. We saw Ikanaveri, he had about 3 line breaks, or 1 line break, 30 metres carried in that last game when he came off the bench up against Georgia. He was one of the super subs that helped Fiji over the line into this front row alongside Matavesi. They've of course got a Roni Maui, who has played a lot of minutes throughout this Rugby World Cup, and Luke Tangi is there. And number 3 in the locking duo is Soa Nasilasila at 4, so he keeps his spot in the starting lineup, and Timo Mainavanua will be there as the number 5. Meri Delialangi comes into the starting lineup, hasn't had a huge amount of minutes throughout this Rugby World Cup, but can certainly come in if there is any sort of injury to either Lakema Tangivalu, Viliami Mata. Delialangi has shown for the Drua that he is certainly the real deal. Lavani Botia, well, when we talk about the real deal, you don't have to look too much further than that man. Turnovers won for his side have been immense throughout this Rugby World Cup. Tackles, he is a tackling machine and he hardly misses a beat when he's out there on the field. I thought that they may consider going for him off the bench in this game just to give him a bit of a lighter workload, but they've chucked him in the deep end, and for sure we know Lavani Botia can handle it. Viliami Mata at number 8 to add that real oomph is the best way of describing it off the back of a scrum. Frank Lamani, the starting 9, because Kuravuli is being rested for this contest. Vilamoni Botitu, his first start at number 10. So a bit of a reshuffle there, and I honestly believe the reason that they've got Joshua Tuisova and Waisia Nayatalevu on the outside is not just because they want to have their key players or their big players in this game, but they want to see what that combination of Vilamoni Botitu alongside those 2 men in the back line can do. We've only seen it for brief moments throughout the other games of this Rugby World Cup, but it will be a great opportunity now in the starting side to see how well it goes. Vinaya Habosi at number 11 coming into the starting lineup after being off the bench. That is for Semi Radradra. Then Celestino Ravatamanda out on the right wing, and Sarali Mangwala at number 15 in for Eliza Drua Sisi. Reading some of the chat we have got there. I think he has some Carver watching this. Eddie says Apiata, and you're always so near with your scores. Hamish says Chloe, and agree with you. Hamish says Tilly there. And also Fiji by at least 15, says Peter, and 33 to 15 is Vishal's prediction. You ever tried teabagging, but we'll give it a shot. Says Kerr, Tosa Viti Tosa, stay blessed all, says Owen there. And hey boys, says LJ, welcome in. Worried about Fiji line-out throw-ins, says Cobra. That is my main concern as well. But I'm hoping that Matavesi throughout the week, I don't know whether or not it's just a confidence thing for him, because we know how strong he's been in the past. But for me, Tavita Ikanaveri seemed like the good option to have in the start. Maybe you have Matavesi finish the game, or you have Zeril Togiotama get his first chance of the Rugby World Cup. Go Fiji, says Vanessa. 15 in favour of the Fijians, says Dylan there. And also, we have got bullet to all our brothers and sisters all over the Motu no tie today. Hamish says Tilly, yeah, we are dressed in the casual attire for this matchup, but it certainly is going to be nothing less than phenomenal when these two sides take to the field and go head to head in a very short moment. The referee in charge of this game is Luke Pearce. Now, I will mention he is a pretty, I guess, he's a breakdown specialist of a ref. He will be watching that breakdown with eagle eyes, which is why Lavani Botia, he will have to make sure he's on his A game for this one. How's it going, Amish? Says LJ the man, doing very well, mate. And please stand for the Fiji national anthem of Portugal and Fiji, says Fiji Islander. And also we have their Portuguese must win. They really need something to believe in. Although I believe, to be honest, the Portuguese already have well and truly stood up throughout this Rugby World Cup. I honestly feel like out of all the sides of the lower ranked teams, they've probably been the most impressive. They are just showing there. Captain Appleton, he will be coming off the bench rather than starting, because that is for Jose Lima, who does get the captaincy at number 12. It is Francisco Fernandez in the front row alongside Tajir and Ferreira. At number 3, Madeira and also Chiquera, At number 5, David Wallace at 6, Nicolas Martins at number 7, and then Samus as the number 8, Marquez and Portela. An exciting combo. Marquez with a huge amount of experience under his belt, looking to bring that to this contest and hoping for a big win here. Betancourt at number 13, like I mentioned, with Jose Lima on his inside. At 12, Marta Storti and also Cardoso at number 15 for this game. But the Portuguese national anthem is just being sung. Someone tell me that I can watch the game here, says Stella. Unfortunately, due to licensing, if we show any match footage or audio, we do get taken off YouTube. But if you go onto the Rugby World Cup website, they will have your list of whereabouts you can watch this fixture. I believe in Fiji, it's on Fiji TV, I believe it is called. Hopefully that is correct. Stella, you can watch fabulous commentary Hamish on screen for 2 hours, and Ireland don't have it in the World Cups. They're chokers, hence why they've never won a knockout game at a World Cup in any sport, says Blackhand, although they come in as favourites up against New Zealand on the New Zealand TAB. So it's interesting. France and Ireland both favourites for their contest, even though New Zealand and South Africa have both got themselves the World Cups in the cabinet. And Stella, I know I read that one, and Fiji 49, Portugal 12, says Justin. And it was in Wilderness yesterday, says LJ the man, and sending our Aroa to Joshua Tuisova. Big loves, rest easy little man, says Blues Nate. Yeah, the fact that Tuisova is still playing in this competition is, I mean, it's incredible heart from the man. And for his sake, you hope Fiji do well. You can tell that it is a very tight-knit group of players that are all together. They run as one out there on the field. They all work as one as well. So they are hoping to all go out there and put in a big show. Ireland only run on performance mode. Says cool story, bro. And also we'll give you the Irish cheat. They ship it all the time and the ref does nothing about it. Says a black hand. And also what's the national sport in Portugal? Soccer. I believe it is football, yes. Or soccer, depending on whereabouts you are in the world. Although rugby. I mean, Appleton said about it in every one of his recent interviews. We have seen him say pretty much, we are trying to inspire the next generation of rugby players, and I feel like that's what they are doing here. There was just a sign that said, "You are strong, Tuisova," in the crowd. Tugged on my heartstrings a little bit. Can't believe it's the last group game of the Rugby World Cup. Says Rishan, come on Fiji, make an upset, says LB. And Chloe, you're so accurate. I think he's the bomb. Nobody can do a Rambo like him, and I wonder if Eddie Jones will be watching this game. He will eagerly be watching, eagle-eyed, some would say as well. But the Fijians, all they need is 4 tries, which I know sounds like a lot because when you look at some of their recent games, I believe we've only seen Fiji get themselves 4 tries once in this competition, and that was in their first game up against the Welsh. Fiji wins for Fiji Day, says Parrish there, and you're so right, says Chloe. And Nayat Levu leading the pre-match for the Fijians. They are fired up here and they want to go out there and put on a performance to be proud of. And this game, we're just about there. I feel like it's now just got real. The fact that this is the last game of the Rugby World Cup group stages. Fiji, if they win, they go through to face England in the quarterfinals. And what a game that would be for the Flying Fijians. Fiji will knock England out in the quarters, says Justin. Rumour has it that Eddie Jones is a vegan, says Cobra. There's also a rumour that he might get fired from Australian rugby, but we'll have to wait and see if either of those are true. Eddie Jones telling Praetorians that they drink brandy and coke while being asked a rugby question, says LB. And also, Nate, you are a super fab too. It's late there, or late here, 8:58 p.m. So yeah, the kickoff, it is actually the same time as South Africa will be kicking off against France next week, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are going to be covering every game of the Rugby World Cup on this channel. So yeah, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us on Instagram, the _Kiwi_lads. The link is in the pinned comment in the chat. Rambo is my hero, but Hamish is on the top, says Chloe. And evening, Hamish, evening all, says Kerno Wick. Welcome in for real, Hamish. Rugby World Cup stages nearing the ends, but bring on the quarterfinals next week, says Blues Nate. Yeah, we've certainly got plenty of videos planned for the future. We are going to be doing the lineup announcements for sides. Your nightclub day's over, says cool story, bro. I mean, I haven't been to a nightclub I don't think ever in my life, but we are still going to be in the random hours of the night, waking up, doing all these videos, doing all the streams, and then sleeping during the day throughout most of the rest of this Rugby World Cup. But they are just shown to lose, and the crowd is packed for this game. Everyone excited to see if Fiji can do it or if the Portuguese can get themselves an upset of what some would consider the World Cup. They would be the biggest underdog to win the previous bigger underdog, or the biggest underdog, ladies and gents, Fiji, when they bet the Australians. Thanks so much for what you do, says Stuart Moore. No worries at all. At the end of the day, I've always said it, like, having you guys in the chat makes these live streams so much fun, and we have no intentions of slowing down, even with the sleep deprivation that we have got at the moment. But Luke Pearce in charge of this one. Brian McNeese is in charge on the TMO. I don't want to speculate, but I believe that's the same TMO as Samoa versus England. I don't like that, but it is going to be kicked off now by Portugal. Hopefully he isn't as involved as he was throughout that last game. It's going to be kicked high and into touch. Good clearing kick from Fiji. Now Portugal 40 metres out from the line. It's going to have the line out here. Hamish, I agree. Chloe, Jason Momoa comes second, and Portugal are the only underdogs, as most want to see Aussie out, says Peter Wild, who is the referee. The referee in charge of this one is going to be Luke Pearce. It is the same TMO, says Jimbo. I recognise the name. That's the thing. I can't name 90% of the TMOs in World Rugby, but when you have one that has a really bad game, you start to remember him, and that is who they've got for this one. But luckily, he hasn't been involved as of yet, and hopefully that is the way that it stays throughout the rest of the match. But Marquez now 40 metres out from the line. There's going to be Chiquera for the Portuguese, or Chiquera, I should say, rather than Chiquera. Now, nice bit of work from Portugal, and their backline, when it is firing, can be extremely effective. And go Fiji, go. And I was going to get the Dimitri, my friend, says Chloe, and he's Irish, says Jimbo in there as well. Nice turnover from the Fijians this time. I believe it was Timo Maia-Navanua who gets on it for Fiji, and now 40 metres out from their line. They are in position, going to the short side. Here comes Tui Sova, back in his speed. Betancourt, though, gets him round the bootlaces. Lamani slinging the pass off quickly to Meri Dedialangu, who has to take it a long way above his head. He has been able to gather. Botitu going across field now to Viliami Mata, the penalty for Portugal. Conceding the penalty early, Fiji, for a side entry against Asoa Nasilasila. And Timo's trying to stay unseen as a risk of getting thumping before the game, or after the game, as I says Peter Wild, and also go Fiji, oust Aussie, says Kevin there, and let's go Fiji, says Andre, but Portugal kicking for the corner here, rather than going for the 3 points. That is something that we did ask before the game. Would they go aggressive, or would they instead start going for the corner? Hello again, cutie, says Ronald. Hello, hope you are doing very well once again. Big game here with these two sides. It could go down to the wire. I feel like I'm going to be very nervous throughout this 80 minutes. Now Mike Tejeda to throw this one in 15 metres out from the line. Slap back over the top by Cicada. Now Jose Lima, the man in charge of this Portuguese side. He is captain. Lavani Botia look for the turnover in the breakdown. Doesn't get it. So now still Portugal in possession. Marquez goes off to Betancourt. Went for the grubber in behind. Sorelli Mwala just lets that one roll into the in-goal area. And it is going to be the goal line dropout. And fine, thank you. Hope you're enjoying yourself, says Chloe. And also big shots from Fiji, and go Fiji go, says Ratu. Fiji are not so aggressive, says Puffy Whale, although they are only 3 minutes into this game. So, you know, it's always going to take a little bit to build up. But the Fijians, they certainly know how to push the pace when they are in possession, putting in a already couple of the big hits. What's in it for Portugal, says Sean Lees? I mean, they would get themselves a massive win in a Rugby World Cup competition. So it's, you know, there's quite a bit on the line. It will be, I believe, their first ever win over Portugal. Great bit of work in the breakdown from Ronnie Maui. Turns it over for Fiji once more. Now gets it in behind to Vilamoni Botitu. His kick is charged down. Sits up for Botia. Mwala has a bit of a slip inside of the 22. Now Marquez gets over the ball. This will be a penalty for the Fijians, though. No clear release. Marquez is confused as he wasn't the original tackler. The penalty goes the way of the Fijians. And this is actually interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because We're hearing the crowd booing that penalty. Fiji have been fan favourites all throughout this Rugby World Cup, but the French crowd love backing an underdog, and it seems that they want Portugal to be able to get themselves the victory here. Although, to be fair, I'm seeing a lot of red in the stands, so perhaps it's just a Portuguese-based crowd for this match. Of course, a lot less distance to travel to go from Portugal to France than from Fiji to France, but still quite a few Fijian supporters. And attendance here, Sam Matavesi is not happy with the line-out gap, and we mentioned about how important his line-outs would be throughout this contest. Can he get them right? The first one is claimed by Asona Silasila. A lot of pressure on Lavani Botia as he regathers the ball. 5 minutes into this game, last chance for Australia, says memes and streams. There's a knock-on the ground from the Fijians. I want to say that was underneath with Lavani Botia. A nice bit of work from the Portuguese, putting pressure on the breakdown early. Huge Portuguese population in France, says Jimbo, and Fiji wins in there as well from Giacunt. Hopefully I've said that correctly. And go Fiji from the Solomon Islands, says Rickson in there as well. But do let me know, ladies and gentlemen, who you think the player is that will be the first try scorer in this game. I'm tempted to say a Fijian forward, but their backline with the danger in there with Tuisova, Naitalevu. Naitalevu's probably a very good shout. I did actually pick him as the first try scorer for the last game, and he was the first one to get over the try line. The pack weight about 80 kgs advantage in favour of Fiji, but they have been driven slightly backwards there. And now they have been told to clear it. Samos does manage to get that one out for Portugal. They've gone for the cross kick, which now sits up for Sorelli Mungwala with a nice fend on his opposite number. Now charge down kick again. Lamani's is charged. Currently Portugal rushing up quickly and shutting down those kicks in behind that the Fijians are trying. And Baviesha says, the PORTUGAL commentary, Amish, keep up the great work. Says Baviesh there. And we are going to be back for the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals as well, ladies and gentlemen. That should have been a penalty to Fiji for taking the player out in the air, but they have set play on. Now the Fijian line out from 40 metres out from their own line, stolen at line out time by Portugal. My concerns have come true for the Fijian line out. But now the back line looking dangerous. Oh, shot. Brilliant hit. Who was that? I think that was, I want to say it was Deri Alangi, but it might have been Vilamoni Botitu who muscled up there. Now Tajir to take contact. 40 metres out from the line. The Portuguese are all over Europe. And go Fiji from Samoa. Waikato pass here for Portugal. Numbers on the outside. Cardona decides to hang on to that one rather than flinging it one more out the back. Now Marquez into the midfield to Madeira. Now putting it high. Marquez from inside of his own half. And it's kicked out on the full from the experienced Samuel Marquez. A mistake that they cannot be affording to make early on in this game. Portugal, they have to make sure they keep on applying that pressure. But they're showing that hit. It was none other than Joshua Tuisova who got Cardoso and sent him sideways. Flattened him out throughout the first one-on-one between the two. It's bought for Fiji from Sri Lanka, says Giacunt. A line out is better there from Fiji. Goes back to Botti and now Vilamoni Botitu. Crashes forward. Lamani almost knocked that ball on, but did leave it for Vinaya Habosi, who was a long way off his wing. Lamani now going to the right-hand side. Off to Timo Mayanavanoa. Advantage in favour of the Fijians. Offside from Tajir. Now Fiji, this is a 30-metre out kick. They have to make the decision. Do they go for the corner and try and ramp it up so that their bonus point is a lot closer? Or do you go for the 3 points to take the early lead? It does look like Lamani is having a big chat with the captain here. I see a night at the lever. They have a decision to make. They are taking on the 3 points here. What different tees? A yellow card from a penalty, says Xander. So normally a yellow card is for something a little bit more severe or for repeat infringements. When you just give away a penalty in a breakdown, unless it's really close to your line, you're not normally going to end up with the penalty. What makes 6% think Portugal will beat Fiji? Says Claudio. I'll be honest, 6% for Portugal to win is probably one of the lowest splits that we have had. I believe more people backed Romania to beat Ireland than Portugal to beat Fiji in this one. We all know how that first game went of the Rugby World Cup between Ireland and Romania for them. And Go Fiji, says Zion, and now lining up this kick. It is Frank Lamani. Does not want to get timed out, of course, wanting to make sure uses up a bit of the clock, allow those forwards to regain their stamina. Lamani not striking that one as nice as he would have liked, but it's still curled around over the post. Fiji get the lead, 3 points to no. Imagine being hit in the chest by a Flying Fijian, says Jimbo. I consider it like chucking a fridge at someone. And that would not feel nice, I wouldn't think. And it's all like just right into the rib cage. It would have been a good shot and definitely would have woken Cardoso up to the power of Joshua Tuisova. Marquez kicks off high and long. Now, it was actually his original kicking mistake that did hurt. Score updated before I scored it over, says Chris. And also, yes, Go Fiji, says Joachim. And also, George says Jimbo. And there as well, now Lamani rolling this ball back. Luke Pearce telling him to use it. They are inside of the 22, so he will be allowed to kick this one out on the full, and has done just that. Portugal considered taking the quick throw, but Geronimo Portela decides against it. A flying fridge, says James. I wonder how much Aussies are up early to watch this. Says no, but I would say there'd be a few, or the real committed Australian fans will be up. The others will probably be looking at the result in the morning, deciding whether or not it's worth having a look at the game. But yeah, for Aussie, this is one of those matches that, of course, they want to see the Portuguese walk away with a victory. For anyone going for Fiji, they are certainly wanting it the other way. But now, nice hands out wide from Cardoso. Now, I need to mention as well for Fiji, if they do make it through to the quarterfinals, they cannot afford to have any players suspended. They cannot afford to have any players injured. They're having to make sure that their discipline is good throughout this contest. The last thing they want is someone like a Tuisova to end up with some sort of card. Could end up with him missing the rest of the competition. Hamish, what's your score prediction? I did go 34-20 or 31-21, somewhere around there I believe it will be, but the Fijians to win it by around that 12-14 mark, or 10-14 we will go in this game. Now Lamani, 40 metres out from the Fijian line, rolling this ball back once more, has been told to use it again by Luke Pearce. Does not want the ball sitting at the back of the breakdown without it moving around. Now, Cardoso Pinto, big boot from him. Nicely taken by Vilamoni Botitu. Sends it across to Frank Lamani. Crowd asking for a forward pass, but I think they'll find it was pretty flat and was okay for the Fijians. Ball bouncing backwards for Portugal. Now space opening up. Another kick and behind from Cardoso Pinto. Cleaned up by Saurali Mangwala. Like they've said, the Olympic gold medalist in the sevens. It is happening just around the corner as well. We will be covering it on the channel, ladies and gents. So if you do love your sevens, of course, the Fijians are the best in the world when it comes to playing in the sevens format. We will be covering every single one of their games on their channel as well. We have got there, Go Fiji from Samoa, and also 32-12 for Fiji, says Jimmy O'Brien. And there as well, now Lamani going across to the left-hand side. Nice, Waisia, Naita Levu kicking in behind here. Bit of time for Cardoso Pinto. Looking for the spiral boot. Hasn't got the distance on it that he would have liked. And just outside of the 22 is where that one is marked. 25 metres out was Claudio Cuperini. Not playing, says Chris. He was probably left out of their team too. Seeing some stepping from Mawala. He is such a dangerous asset for the Fijians, although they will be going with Eliza Drosisi, I believe, throughout the quarters if they do make it there. Viliami Mata taking it nicely at the front. In fact, it would have been Timo Maia Navanu and Alvanai Habosi trying to run straight over the top of Costa Storti. Now, Waisia Naita Levu, drop ball from him. So Portugal, it is actually their number 6, David Wallace, who has kicked that one downfield. Now Fiji having a chase back. Vilamone Botito actually did a rainbow flick there. Anyone who knows their Portuguese football would have seen one or two of those from Cristiano Ronaldo over the years. Now to the right, cross kick again, coming from the Portuguese boards, running onto it, but he just can't quite reach out there for Rafael Costa Storti. And now line out for Fiji, they take it quickly. Lamani with the line break down the short side, doesn't quite get the pass away as quickly as I would have liked. So Timo Maia Navanua, the turnover is there for the Portuguese. The penalty advantage is also in their favour. Jose Lima, the skipper. And with this ball 13 metres out from the line, Marquez short side. Advantage is over for the knock-on, they have said. And also 36 to Fiji, 15 of Portugal. Fiji win without the bonus point. Are they in or out? They are in. They only need to win this game. They actually don't even need to win it theoretically. They just need to be either within 7 or they need to get themselves 4-try bonus point. So just 1 point from this game is all the Fijians need. We're seeing 3 dominant tackles from Fiji throughout the first 14 minutes compared to the one of Portugal. We want to watch these, Jeffrey. If you go on the Rugby World Cup website, you'll be able to see exactly where you can watch depending on whereabouts you are in the world. I believe it is on Fiji.tv, I want to say, but I could be wrong there. So Aurelia Mawala cleaning up nicely at the back, 40 metres out for the line now for the Fijians. Frank Lamani going back across to the right-hand side to Masaki Donge. In fact, it's Luke Tangi, my apologies. He had a great game in the last contest up against the Georgians, making a lot of running metres, playing like he was a back. And I, mate, do you think Fiji going to win? I believe that the Fijians should be able to get themselves the victory here. I think Portugal are going to make it extremely tough for them, though. Should be a great game to watch. Vilimoni Botitu, 15 minutes gone so far. Going for the kick back deep into Portuguese territory. Marquez cleans up that one and now runs it back to his 22. For the big boot downfield. Doesn't find touch. Lamani passes across to Soreli Mawala, who I don't think wanted to kick it, but he does decide to in the end. He does love running the ball from the back. Manuel Cardoso Pinto. Now going for the kick of his own. Almost going into touch on the fall, but Lamani is there to grab it for the Fijians. Returns fire back to the 22. Now it's Geronimo Portela. Looks like he's going to try and run the ball rather than kicking. He's been tackled low by Ronnie Maui. Now Marquez on off again to Tajir, playing number 2 for this contest. Dead with Sam Matavesi. First receiver again will actually be Manuel Cardoso Pinto. That seems to be the best option at the moment for the Portuguese. Almost finding the offload there on the ground. Marquez on the halfway line now for the Portuguese. Slinging it out wide to Tajir. Spends quite a bit of his time out from the breakdowns. Nice tackle made on Nicholas Martens. Fiji giving away the penalty, no clear release. Believe that is against Lavani Botia. And I am a neutral again for this match. Says Penny Lane, what's going on? I was cooking for myself, I'm a selfish man. Says Go Travel Planet. So it is definitely a fast-paced start to this contest. We've seen Fiji get themselves the 3 points so far throughout this game, but the Portuguese, they have been strong when they've been on attack. It's just that little mistake that they made, allowing the Fijians a little bit of extra possession. Although speaking of the Fijian, looked like there's some sort of injury at this point. But Manuel Cardoso Pinto, he has been sensational throughout the start of this game in terms of the amount of distance that he has covered. We have got there, Chris has said, Hamish not neutral, obviously backing Fiji. As I was just complimenting the Portuguese fullback for what he's been able to do throughout the rest of this game. We have got there, Ronald, we're just getting warmed up, says Roof. And also Rudy has said to Fiji, it's on 21, says Chloe. And also, we have got there, didn't have to look. I knew that stat easily, says Chuck D. So the player who is down at the moment for the Fijians, it actually looks like Timo Mayanavanu'a. So hopefully he is going to be all right. We have got a donation from Manus in there as well. Thank you very much, mate. Hugely appreciated. I'm not feeling too confident about this game, says Fiji Islander, and Chris with the laughing face in there as well. But the Portuguese fans certainly have turned up in numbers for this game in Toulouse. Te Ihuaru Threkanavita looks like he's been sent back to the bench, which is a good sign here for Fiji, as it means Mayanavanu'a will be able to continue this match. Now we have got there, hi all. So Australia is out of the World Cup. Not quite. If Portugal win this game by 8 or more, no, they are making the change now. So it's Timo Mayanavanu'a going off and Te Ihuaru Threkanavita making his way onto the field. So that is actually the same combo now in the locking duo as what we did see when these two sides, when Fiji played their last game up against the Georgians. Tajir got his line out wrong. Fiji stealing it. Now Lavani Botia slinging, cutout pass to YC Knife. The lever put in a lot of height on that one, although it might end up rolling dead. Still going. No, he had to force it, couldn't risk, with Celestino Ravatamunda running as quickly as he did. Island team will play Hamish, says Benny Lane. A referee already favouring Portugal, another corrupt English ref, says Strazza. I mean, I don't think the referee's been too bad in this game so far. Like, we've seen 2 penalties against the Fijians. We've seen one penalty against Fiji, 2 against Portugal, according to the official stats. But I think that's slightly wrong. I think we have seen maybe 2 and 2 throughout this game. But I mentioned about it, Luke Pearce. He is one of the referees who are more observant when it comes to the breakdown. So Fiji need to take that into consideration and make sure that they are having perfect discipline when it comes to that side of things. Lamani goes off to... was Sam Matavesi, looked for the offload. It's been put backwards. Now Marquez kicks it in behind for the Portuguese, although racing back is Sorelli Minguala. We know he's got pace from his 7s days. He's knocked that ball on, though, double knock on, as it did go out of the hands of Nicolas Martins. And now we have got the scrum feed in favour of Portugal, about 40 metres out. Sorelli Minguala, he is asking the referee to reconsider that knock on, but it did go forward out of his hands from what we saw. Eddie Jones apologised for Australia knocked out, says Rudy. That's all well and good, but at the end of the day, like, there's still a lot to be worked on for the Aussies and Eddie Jones. So Sorelli Minguala, yeah, it's clear knock on there from him. And I'm a New Zealand fan, but I watch all the games, says Elon. And anyone who is new to the channel, also be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are back for every single game of the Rugby World Cup. 4 handling errors from Fiji throughout the first 20 minutes of this performance. 0 from Portugal. So they have been a little bit more of a clinical side, the Portuguese, but Fiji have still been right in the fight with those big hits. They've had more, it's called, I've forgotten the name of it, but pretty much more dominant tackles. That's the one. We have got their Ireland, beat the South African. That's all that matters, says Penny Lane. And that is the penalty to Fiji at scrum time. On the left-hand side, I think that's Francisco Fernandez has wheeled around. In fact, it's Diogo Hasi Ferreira who has been penalised for that one, up against a Ronnie Maui, scrum bending. And it is the penalty going to Fiji. Do you watch cricket? I do indeed. Cricket World Cup, of course, also taking place at the moment. And Hamish is still playing for Japan. He is not, no. And the crowd in chats of the Rugby World Cup has been fantastic, says the Blues. Nothing come on Portugal, make Eddie's day, says Johannes. Brilliant kick down fell from Fiji now. About 32 metres out from the Portuguese 22. Oh, sorry, from the Portuguese line, in fact. Now, Matavesi, they have had 3 out of 4 lineouts won, and that one is nicely claimed at the front by was Mata. Joshua Tuisova in the midfield. As that ball, Lamani goes off to the left-hand side. Vilamoni Botitu. Great work in the breakdown from Betancourt. Almost got the turnover, but he has been dragged down, so is unable to continue to contest. Now, Te Awaru Threkadavita, the replacement lock after Timo Mainavanua was injured early in this contest. Lamani goes off to the right-hand side. Fiji starting to get a few more passes together. Vilamoni Botitu, though, he passes it straight into touch. And now it's going to be the line out for Portugal once more. They're pretty sure Australia doesn't care about the Olympics, cricket or rugby like they used to. Says cool story, bro. And also, we've got their Chloe wants Hamish for New Zealand citizenship. And also, Hamish, would you rather be cornered fighting for your life by a pack full of swans or wear a New Zealand shirt for a week? Oh, I mean, I already have a New Zealand shirt, so I feel like that would be easier, wouldn't it? And I wouldn't have to fight any swans, as you said. And Fiji is the new Wallaby, says Cape Rebel League. Nicely taken by Nicolas Martins. Rolling Mole now opening up the opportunity for another set piece here for Portugal, although Marquez does decide instead that he wants to go for that up and under chance. Celestino Ravatamanda lining it up very nicely, tackled by Rodrigo Morta. No, doesn't quite get the turnover in the breakdown. Now, nice stepping from Tui Soba. The ball's been ripped out of his hands, and it's a knock-on now. Handling for Fiji as not being great. Ref will be bad this game, says Trazer. Although something we should be talking about rather than the referee at this stage is the fact that Fiji have dropped the ball 6 times in this first 20 minutes. The referee can't help them with that. So I'm sure that will be the part of their game that they're looking at. Penalty counts relatively even at this point, I should mention, ladies and gentlemen. Fiji getting themselves the last penalty in the scrum. But yeah, they're definitely going to want to work on that handling as we make our way through this first half. Well, there you go, Portugal, come on. And Pispor are never going to win against England if somehow they manage to get through. Although seeing England's last performance up against the Samoans, anything's possible in those quarterfinals. Energy and optimism is courageous or contagious. Don't stop your legend. Says bystander, and Fiji not getting the set pieces. Says Rudy there as well. But I will mention anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are almost to our goal. Let's see whether or not we can get there. Now, that is going to be a really ugly scrum. Everyone's gone down, so they will have another reset. 5 memberships gifted, says Dylan. One moment, I will click here. It doesn't actually come up on my streaming software on this side, but it was from Jimbo. So the people who got one was Craig Adams, Callum Karen, Sifilele Mwanda. Hopefully I've said that correctly. Also, I was here, got a membership, and G was gifted a membership by Jimbo as well. Thank you very much for your generosity, Jimbo. It is greatly appreciated. Anyone who just was gifted a membership, what you can do now is you have access to exclusive emojis on the channel. So be sure to put some of them in the chat. I'm a footy supporter, so don't care much this Penny Lane. Does Fiji have a haka? Says Rudy. They have their own version of the haka, I guess I could say. And also, who do you think will win between ABs and Ireland? Well, we have done a prediction at the start of the Rugby World Cup of who we thought would walk away with it. I thought it was going to be a close game, and I still feel it will. Fiji this time get the scrum once more, and that is actually the second time that Portugal have had to feed for the scrum, but hasn't been able to make the most of it. I'll take the membership, thanks. Says Cliff there. And also Dylan has now got those membership emojis flying in. So I know, Hamish, I'm sure you know me, says Chloe. And also Tristan has got a handsome Squidward. I remember that from SpongeBob. And also Ronaldo. I could have been a good 10 for Portugal, and sharing the love, says Jimbo. And yeah, it is hugely appreciated, Jimbo, for your generosity. Disappointment on the face there of Diogo Hasi Ferreira. And thanks bystander, says Craig. And I know Hamish. Chloe is actually George having you on, says Gareth. We do have to wonder, don't we? I don't think it will be George, though, because he does not. Or he would be up now, but he wouldn't be up for those middle of the night ones. Now, big run from Joshua Tuisova. Moves up to 22 metres out from the line. Fiji need 4 tries to secure themselves a spot in the quarterfinals, or they need the victory. It's bounced out the back now to Vilimone Botito, I should say. Now, Luke Tangi. Couple extra metres for him. Lavani Bortia crashes straight at Matera, who has taken him down nicely. Viliami Mata now tackled low by Tajir. They have got numbers on this left-hand side if they can shift it wide. And Vinaya Bussi is hugging the touchline. Lamani goes off to Vilimone Botito. Oh, Sareli Mangwala goes himself, slips over, and now almost, yes, it is the penalty to Portugal. Mistake made by Sareli Mangwala. Decided to get greedy at the wrong time. And now Portugal win the penalty. Will be close, but in your opinion, who do you think will win it? Says Sods. I think in my original prediction, I went with New Zealand, but I also predicted New Zealand to top the pool rather than France. So the dynamics changed a little bit. And Portugal. Sarali Mangwala tried to step. If he didn't slip, it could have been dangerous, but because he slipped over, it meant that he was in the perfect position for his opposite number, Cardoso, what's his extra part? Cardoso Pinti, I think it is, to be able to get over. Another line-out one by the Fijians, by the Portuguese there. And all right, fair enough, says Sods. And yeah, I think it's going to heavily depend on what lineup New Zealand go with. Now space opening up for Portugal. Going with the chip and chase. Almost setting up, but Lamani is the man who's been able to help. And Sorelli Mangwala commits his body to the cause to try and stop Portugal from getting that one back. Lamani now goes off to Sam Matavesi. Should have given that last pass, says Fiji Islander. Certainly should have. And it would have been, I would say, a certain try for Vinaya Habossi out wide. Fiji just getting the decision-making wrong there. Fiji too much handling errors to win England. Says Vincent. It's going to go high. No one taking it cleanly. And it is now going to be a Portuguese line-out, I believe, in this case. With the Springboks all the way, we are on the trophy 3 times, 1995, 2007, and 2019. Says Rudy. And Fiji must win despite the Aussies. I wake up an hour earlier. I get time and to loathe them, says Bruce. Go Fiji, go, says Tazim. Yeah, anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Like I mentioned, we are 7 away from 37,200. So if you want to help us get there, be sure to hit that subscribe button. They are just talking about Rafael Storti, 20 defenders beaten. Out on the other wing as well, though, Rodrigo Mata, those two being very handy for the Portuguese. In the quarterfinals, says Kevin. At the moment, for the quarterfinals that are confirmed, ladies and gents, it is Wales versus Argentina. That will be the first one taking place. That is at 4 a.m. New Zealand time on the Sunday morning. So that will be roughly the same time for Fijians. For the South Africans, slightly different time. That is going to be a 5 p.m. kickoff on the Saturday. Then New Zealand versus Ireland. That is another quarterfinal that has been confirmed. England, they will be taking on either Fiji or Australia. Looking for the 50-22 there. Vinaya Habossi, though, manages to clean up, stepping around 4 Portuguese defenders. They're all swarming him, and they had to, because that is the only way to shut down Vinaya Habossi. Now, another Portuguese penalty in the breakdown. And Marquez takes it quickly. Portugal looking for the counter-attack. It's a knock-on, though, on the halfway line. Could have been dangerous if they had held on to it. Do you see yourself as a commentator at a stadium on professional level? Not your plan, says Sods. I'll be honest, the reason that I enjoy this commentary so much is because I get to spend the live streams talking to you guys. I feel like in the actual commentary box, it wouldn't quite have that same feel because I wouldn't have the chat to interact with. And I feel like that's what makes this so special in terms of, I guess, also being different from the commentary that they do on the TV. Comedy of errors at the moment, says Miminia. And why the F is everyone just watching Habossi go by and not bother to run support lines. He's quick though, Vinaya Habossi. We've got to remember he's a quick individual and he just outran his old team pretty much. And as Chloe Rugby Itch says, Robert, that would be a bit of a plot twist for the podcast, wouldn't it? And that's great, man, says Sods. And refs stealing the game away from Fiji. No, not in this case. The handling. We've got to look at the handling rather than the penalties. Portugal have given away the same amount of penalties as Fiji in this game. So it's even in that regard. But I think everyone would agree they're having 8 or 9 handling errors from the Fijians throughout this 28 first minutes. That is what's going to be hurting them a little bit more than the penalty count of about 4. Is it just me or do they look fatigued? They are looking a little bit taxed at the moment. They've had a big tournament. The Flying Fijians having a tough win over Georgia last week. The big thing is getting within 7 for this contest. If they can get themselves a win, it is ideal. But if they can't get themselves their win, just being within the 7 will still get themselves through to the next stage. Now, for anyone wondering about how this Rugby World Cup match is sitting in terms of the odds, Portugal's still $7 underdogs in this matchup. And also, did you take time to see Wildcard's post regarding the Australia loss to Fiji? I didn't get to see it, unfortunately, but I did see him on the... the Good, Bad, and the Rugby podcast. I believe he actually got onto it, which was pretty awesome. We have got there, yes, Robert, and also there should be a tournament like the Rugby Championship for countries like Uruguay, Portugal, Namibia, Tonga, etc. And I think that World Rugby, after this World Cup, would have to look into something like that because, I would love to see these lower ranked sides continue to play as much rugby as they have been throughout this Rugby World Cup. And yeah, Portugal have shown that they can compete with the best of them. Fiji the same. I'm very happy to see them in the Pacific Nations Cup. I hope that competition continues, and if it can't, then maybe another one does come in. And also we have got there, Fiji are going to hit the 50 mark, and they're handling that as another penalty, this time at scrum time, won by the Portuguese. I think Luke Tangi went straight down at scrum time. How young are you, Cesarelli? I am 23. So... almost 24, turning 24 in December. This is honestly Ireland's year. It's Ireland's time. New Zealand don't stand a chance against Ireland on Saturday. Says C T. And Tier 1 needs to play Tier 2. Says go travel planet. But now the Portuguese line out from about 40 metres out. Matavisi, I'm going to say it once and I'll say it all throughout this match. Wrong decision playing him in this game. Taking an out-of-form hooker into a playoff game is... it's like taking a sinking ship out to sea, isn't it? You just know that it's not quite going to work. And Ikanaveri, I believe they should possibly even consider making that sub at half-time. His lineouts haven't been too bad, Matavisi, but he hasn't had that impact in the breakdowns or that running game that they needed in the starting lineup. That magical wand the All Blacks are going to use Goes by the name Damien McKenzie, says Chris. And what is happening to Fiji? Unfortunately, the handling is just letting them down at the moment. And Portugal now looking for that back line. The handling has not been great from Portugal either, though. I will mention they did just drop that ball. Referee Luke Pearce is... hang on, Luke. What's going on there? It's a penalty against Fiji. They've called penalty advantage over when Portugal slapped the ball back. I assume that he thought it was a Fijian foot that kicked it forward, and maybe it was. So that may have been why advantage was over for the knock-on. What happens if Fiji win but don't get a bonus point? Says Yako, they are through. So pretty much all Fiji need from this game is 1 point. Somewhere along the lines, that could be for scoring 4 tries, but at the moment, with 30 minutes down and only 3 points on the board, it doesn't seem like that will be a probability. So they just have to be either within 7 or win themselves the game. They said just the 3 points for Fiji, closer than I thought it would be, says Cliff. I'll be honest, a lot lower scoring than I thought it would be. I mentioned how I thought this would be a free-flowing game of rugby, but the problem that we've had so far is the amount of handling errors that have stopped the momentum of both of these sides. Mike Tajir now throwing that ball in, slapped away by Fiji. They win the line out against the feed. Lavani Botia goes across now to Joshua Tuisova, numbers on the outside. Waisia Naif flicks it out the back to Sorelli Mangwala, who tried to kick it downfield. Does end up going into the hands of Rafael Costa Storti. The crowd are booing. Now, of course, in football that would be a penalty, but in this case, this is rugby, lads. They are going to be playing on. Now, 8.5 minutes left. And it is going to be Fiji now with a line-out throw. Honestly, now, I'd rather not see Fiji go through to the quarterfinals because they'll get absolutely battered. And call it what you want, I would do the same. Says Chuck T. And also, we look at their Fiji. I thought Fiji would run away with this game. But they only have 3, says Rudy. Now, Sam Matavisi throwing it in at the back. It's Soana Sela Franklin Mani goes across. It was a flat ball to Joshua Tuisova. Been taken down well by this Portuguese defence, which has not been budging. That is one thing that they have been credited to throughout this Rugby World Cup. They only really concede tries throughout that second half, normally when the worst of it comes for them. Look at there, Portugal. And also, no, says Benny Lane, I love you. Says Sarelli and friends. And there, Luke Tangi crashing up at the line. Nicholas Martins, once again, another knock-on from Fiji. This is having a very similar feel to what we saw in the game up against Georgia. And now breaking the line here for the Portuguese. Kicked it behind, but it is straight to, I believe that is Sorelli Mangwala who is back there. And now looking for the 50-22. There is an acre of space in behind this Portuguese defence. It's Mike Tajir who lines up the kick. And what a boot that is from the big man. That is one of the best touch finders you will see from a number 2 in this Rugby World Cup. Or in fact, it was one of the best touch finders you'll find from most players at the back. But now, Fiji have taken the line out throw quickly through the legs from Waisia Naif the level. It is a forward pass though. Fiji not playing to the whistle and now kicked behind by Portugal who are running after it. There will be a advantage over. Fiji forced the ball down and it is a goal line dropout. But Lavani Botia, he knocked it on and then he waited for the referee to call the scrum. Portugal picked the ball up, play on, and then they almost managed to score themselves the try behind the Fijians. Little bit of sleep in this first half, it would seem. Not quite concentrating. But Mike Tajir, brilliant kicking behind from that man from inside of his 22. But Fiji wanted to keep this ball alive. And these Fijians are causing on my Super Bruce, says Craig. Now the goal line dropout is a long from Fiji in the midfield. Betancourt, good low tackle made from Soana Sela, but Betancourt gets back up and goes again. Another offload found to Samos. Offloaded now off to Madeira. And that is something Portugal do enjoy doing, those quick offloads. Expansive play from their backline. Tajir, tackled by Luke Tangi. Almost a knock on there from was Marquez. Cleaned up by Portugal. And also Pinto was the man who took contact there. Nicholas Martins finds the pass on the inside. Another offload to Marquez. Slapped out of his hands. Back into the hands of the Fijians now. We have got there. Aliena has said daddy. And there's come on fly. Or come on Fiji it might be. But it is going to be the penalty now. In favour of Portugal once more. Why see a knife delivered, just asking what that penalty is for. Okay, 15 Oh no, sorry, 15 metres out from the touchline on the 5 metre line. Not sure what that penalty was for. I think it was something to do with the tackle of Frank Lamani. It would be kind of hilarious if Australia end up qualifying after all. Says DGM. I think this ref is Aussie, says Stephen. He is a official from England, Luke Pearce. And also we have who filled the stadiums in the Rugby World Cup in France. Where they come from. Says Master. Well, they got people from Portugal, people from France, people from Fiji, all around the world watching on. Yeah, so Lamani, he did make the tackle on David Wallace without the ball. Guys need to talk about rugby here, not to come on, guys. Says Rudy. And also these refs, unbelievable. And I'm all for Fiji tonight, warming up for some box support, says Productivity. Who are your predictions on who will be champion? I did say the Springboks would go all the way once more. Now nicely thrown in by Tejia. They are 5 metres out for the line now, Portugal. 36 minutes into the contest. Tejia now breaks off the back. Tackled by Matavesi Marquez. Makes that pass from his back. Now Storti. Ball almost stripped from his hands by the Fijians. Over the ball here. Penalty advantage again against the Fijians for leaving their feet in the breakdown. Avani Botia trying to find that turnover once more. Portugal, they've got the chance with their backline with Jose. He kicks it downfield with the grubber and it's, I think he's pushed that one forward rather than forcing it down. He doesn't look happy. Or is he? I can't tell if he thinks he scored it. I don't think Rafael Costa Storti knows if that one is going to be a try. Okay, it's been knocked on in the field of play. No grounding. But they will go back for the original penalty advantage in favour of the Portuguese. Yeah, just knocked it on. Got the high fives from his teammate. And Aussie, oi, 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 come on, Portugal. Says Smokinari, say it every day. Okay, players can't stand up in the tackle to help your jackler out, I think was the comment there from Luke Pearce. Or I only half heard it though, that's the only thing. So I may not have reiterated that the best way possible. But both of these sides throwing everything into this first half, that is for sure. And only the 3 points for a game that I believe a lot of people felt was going to be an extremely high scoring one. It has been anything but that, only the 3 points from Frank Lamani. Now for Portugal, do they go for the corner here? Or do they instead go for the 3? It looks like Marquez has called for the kicking tee. Portugal will be trying to get this first kick over. Chico is with the Pumas. Yes, says Guillermo. And South Africa says Rudy in there. First kick of the game for Samuel Marquez. Should be stock standard, and it certainly is from 15 metres out, or maybe even 10. Now makes the score 3 points to 3 between these two sides. Fiji will play their winning team in the second half. Fiji will score tries in the second half, says Desmond. And hey, and one guy in Norway, says Mumbo Jumbo Kiwi there. Now, kicking off in the second half. Or not quite the second half, sorry. 2 minutes 30 remaining. Second half offs, Fiji go bye-bye Portugal. And England licking their lips. And also, are there any semi-finals going to be playing on South African TV channels? I'm not too sure. I know that it was supposed to be on the free-to-air side of things for South African games. I'm not sure about all of the quarterfinals, though, or whether it's just the South African ones that are on SABC. Wide cut out pass there from Frank Lamani. Vanaya Haposi cuts on the inside. Tackle well by Cardoso Pinto, although he looks like he might have injured himself. So this is when Fiji need to strike. Lamani goes across there to Luke Tangi, tries to put out the big fend. Lamani slings it across. Botitu, he just was hesitant in that pass. Didn't want to throw that next one. Lamani having to really work hard to get that ball out of the breakdown. Joshua Tuisova, skip pass out to Celestino Ravatamanda, 10 metres from the line now for the Fijians. Lamani goes on the inside to Asoana Silasila. And this is what Fiji need more of, just phase after phase, wearing out the Portuguese. Waisi and ninth, the Levu doesn't go for the pass on the outside, instead is lured in by 3 of the Portuguese defenders. The ball comes out the side once more, and it is going to be going back for the original knock-on from Portugal. Fiji will have themselves the scrum. We have got there Chloe Hamish didn't bring his guitar. And also we're there, Naya Levu needs to pass the ball, always hold on to the ball too long, says the new age. I think that is something that Fiji at the moment have struggled with in this first half, I will say, is decision making. There was that early one of Sireli Manguala, easy pass on the outside would have been a try. He went himself, slipped over, Portugal won the penalty. In that case, Waisea Levu, should he have given it out wide? They don't seem to want to go to Vinaya Habossi, even though he has beaten the most defenders throughout this contest at this point. But only 40 seconds remaining in the first half. If the Fijians can get themselves a try here, that will heavily impact them throughout the second 40, and it's going to be the confidence booster that they need. And let's go Fiji, says James. No, hang on, everyone was grouping on Wales. Being Portugal in a close game. Let's hear you all now. Says Fleshin. And also Portugal for the win. Come on, boys. Says Smoking RSA every day. And also High Style Burger. Says Chloe, and let's go Fiji, says James. And there as well. Oh, hang on. They've said first knock-on was actually from Fiji. Then the second knock-on from Portugal. So it is a Portuguese scrum feed in this game once more, ladies and gents. And what happens if Portugal won? So they will not progress in this Rugby World Cup, but if Portugal win this game and limit the Fijians out of getting a bonus point for being within 7, then it will be Australia who make their way through to the quarterfinals. Mike Tajir doing a bit of the jazz hands in the scrum, saying that there was a little bit of an early push on him. Lekker style, nice to see you. Says Dylan. Okay, Luke Pearce has pretty much just said to the two sides in the front row, no commentary, let's just get on with it. And for Portugal, they are only 5 metres out from their own line, so the scrum, more than likely, they'll want to get that ball in, get that ball out, and then put it straight into touch. And while this is a low-scoring game, says Brian, be the first ones at the Rugby World Cup for Portugal. Yes, says Blues Nate. Exactly right, they've been close. And they had the draw with Georgia. That would have been their first ever Rugby World Cup victory. So, yeah, there is quite a bit on the line for the Portuguese in this contest. But it is now half-time, ladies and gentlemen. 3 points to 3 in the first half of this matchup. Fiji need to go to the drawing board. Portugal as well, they will want to try and do a little bit better in the second half. And we're good up north. These Southerners fluff the major games, aka Aussie, says Rich. It depends, because I mean, we've seen some pretty close games between North and South more recently. We did see England versus Samoa, of course, only split by the 1 point between those two teams. Is that the worst half of rugby you have seen, says Stephen? If I'm honest, probably not. I think that was probably probably top 3. The worst thing is, the one that also was above it was probably Fiji up against Georgia last week. So it's unfortunate, but if they can have a better second half, hopefully this game we will see some tries. I think both teams want to be able to score themselves a couple throughout there. I mean, Southern Hemisphere 8, Northern Hemisphere 1. So says Gareth. And also we have got there, cool story, bro. You can try speak English, but nobody will understand, says Chris. I waited, Hamish, for that thirst, says Chloe. And also last game of the knockout, says Burn Burrito, and the score is very surprising. Going to be interesting. And how you going, Hamish, says David, doing very well. Looking forward to the second half. And sorry I missed your answer. What is going to happen to this channel after the World Cup, says Casey. We have got the URC competition that will be starting up. I'm pretty sure that actually starts up in 2 weeks' time. We've got the Gallagher Premiership. Also, the Champions Cup will be coming up for the rugby side of things. The Sevens, we cover all the Sevens on the channel with the Flying Fijians, the Blitz Box, the All Black Sevens, all those sides are going to be coming up on the channel as well. And also, well, the score is very surprising, going to be interesting, says Jacqueline. And man, it's hard rooting for Fiji these last 2 games. If they think they can do well against England playing like this, they are in for a rude awakening, says Caleb. Yeah, so far we've seen 2 line-out steals from the Portuguese, or in fact, sorry, from the Fijians. They've actually had 8 out of 9 lineouts, which I don't think is quite correct. I believe they lost 2 early on in that one. But 8 penalties against the Fijians compared to the 4 of Portugal. Fiji tackling at 71% rather than the 78% that we have seen from the Portuguese. But Portugal almost having to make double the tackles of Fiji. So if Fiji can keep up that momentum in the second half, that might be where those gaps start to open up. Recap of the night's games, please. Says Matthias. So if we're talking about tonight's game, we saw Japan versus Argentina. Both sides putting on an absolutely awesome showing. One of the best games of the Rugby World Cup so far, and the Argentines progressed through to the quarterfinals. The game after that, Tonga versus Romania. Both sides equally surprising in the way that they played. Romania stepped up, but not able to get the win. Tonga get themselves up to 4th. And then, of course, this game, 3-all. The opposite of what I thought the score would be sitting at. Can't blame the ref for handling errors. Exactly right. Fiji having double figures almost of handling errors throughout that first half. The Kiwi lads, please telecast Cricket World Cup also, says Master. Although we have tried Cricket World Cup in the past and we normally get copyright struck. And if we were to receive that, then we wouldn't be able to do the Rugby World Cup. So that is why we aren't doing the Cricket World Cup once more. You can blame a Sri Lankan YouTube channel for that. But territory for the whole game, 53% in favour of Fiji, 52% for the possession side of things as well. 388 running metres, 14 defenders beaten for Fiji. Half as many beaten by Portugal, but still 223 running metres. And offloads. Normally Fiji are a side that lead that stat. But 4 offloads from Fiji, 7 from the Portuguese. We have good as a Fiji. I'm absolutely disgusted. How does this team expect to win against the top 4 teams playing like 1-year-olds? It's honestly unbelievable. It is. And it just shows what pressure can do in matchups, but also going into a game like this. I feel like Fiji, of course, handling errors have been woeful throughout that first half. Same could be said about Portugal. I believe they dropped that ball about 6 or 7 times possibly as well. But like going into this game, I feel like the selection-wise, they may have made a couple mistakes, Fiji, and they did the same thing last week, and it seems like it's really costing them in these games. Seems like the chemistry is off or something's not quite working. Have you seen any updates on whether South Africa will be allowed to play under our flag, says Dylan? By the sounds of what I've heard, they are confident they will be able to play as South Africa. But I guess being confident and being confirmed is 2 different things, so in the near future we should know. We have got there, the Aussies are clinching their cheeks right now, says Smoking every day. We have got there, this Rugby World Cup has many unexpected twists, can't even be predicted. Says Star, very surprising score, which makes this game interesting right now, says Stormy. I should mention, if it stays the same way, if it's a draw at the end of the game, the Fijians would still progress through to the next stage. If the Portuguese win this game, they will possibly walk away with 4 or 5 points, but if Fiji walk away with 1, they will still make their way through. As I always say, things can just happen on the day. And any South Africans in the chat, says Baron Jim. We've got quite a few South Africans who are tuning in, and thanks, mate, for the commentary. Or your commentary is brilliant. I do think Fiji is going to progress here in the second half, says Rudy. And also, Juan, Argentina were awesome. I think they will beat Wales, and Fiji is going to win the cup. Hope they get into the finals. They will, although they will certainly have to improve throughout the second half. That is the big thing. And I feel like the benches might be where we see the impact. That is actually where we saw the impact for the Fijians in the last contest that they had up against the Georgians. Tarika Davita already making his way onto the field. That is to replace Timo Mayanava-Vanua, who did end up with the early injury in this match. Tete Tela at number 22 might get the chance early-ish. I don't think Filimoni Botitu has lit the world on fire as of yet. Or Sefo Masi could be a good option in the midfield. And what I would actually do is I'd probably move either Tuisova or Nayatha Levu out to the wing. And then, but who do you take off? That's the tricky... I think what I would do is I would put Sefo Masi on the field. I would replace Soreli Mungwala. I would put Celestino Ravatamanda to fullback, and then either Tuisova goes out to the wing, or maybe you just play Sefo Masi as a right winger. But I believe that the Fijians need something to change in that back line for them to start finding more success. For the Portuguese, they have actually, some of their players been stepping up. Mike Tajia had a brilliant first half, I felt. Also some muss off the back with Nicolas Martins, a lot of physicality coming from the Portuguese loose forward trio. Rafael Costa Storti is looking strong, but they still have Thomas Appleton to come off the bench later on. Probably didn't see a huge amount of Jose Lima, but they are just showing the difference. I mean, Soreli Mangwala, in terms of the tackle breaks, he's had 6 throughout this game. Made 78 metres, 9 ball carries. So he hasn't really been that bad throughout the contest. It's just been the management of when to pass and when not to that has been hurting Mangwala. In this game, there's still a lot of Bok in the chat. We are everywhere. And also, it's going to be the 1995 final again. And also, how does this work out? Are we sending the Aussies home? Says Fleshin, not quite. At this stage, if it stays the way that it is going to be the Fijians progressing forward. And Shalo Fiji says, or Thalo Fiji, I should say, from Simran. As a halftime, says Baron Jim. It certainly is. And get up there, Fiji. And also, got mice on my flat, says Dylan. That sounds very unfortunate indeed for yourself. The Fijians having those 10 handling errors or so throughout the first half. Okay, guys, name your 4 quarterfinal winners. Says Jimbo, well, I'll make it a little bit easier for you, and I will show you exactly who is playing in the quarterfinal. So Wales versus Argentina, that will be the first game. I feel it could be relatively close between those two. I should mention that Ireland and France in their 2 quarterfinals do come in as favourites over the Southern Hemisphere opposition in New Zealand and South Africa. England, they are either playing Fiji or Australia, and at halftime in this game, we have no idea who it's going to be because I still don't feel like Fiji have necessarily got this game in the bag. But then I also struggle to see them losing this game by more than 7 at this stage, just with how close has ended up being. A Fijian win will benefit both Australia and New Zealand rugby for the next decade, says Dave. And also, okay, guys, I know I read that one. And to me, this looks like Portugal is just playing out of their minds and really pushing the intensity because they have nothing to lose. Exactly right. And that is almost how they've played their last 3 or 4 games. But it has been the second half that normally hurts the Portuguese. Fiji is embarrassing right now, so embarrassing, says Commonwealth fan. And also, as the second half starting yet, says Rudy, not quite. The 2 teams are still in the changing sheds. So many New Zealanders coaching Wales. Graham Henry, Steve Hansen, Wayne Pivak, and now Warren G. Wales says lose Nate. And also the 4 quarterfinal winners, Wales, Ireland, France, and England. So going with the All 6 Nations. And they're from Akaris. And also we have their Fiji playing 7s tonight. Look how many of the pack walk to the breakdowns. They aren't committing enough Portugal players to the ruck, says Eric. And I think that is because Portugal are expecting that backline of Fiji to just try and keep on offloading that ball, which we have seen a little bit for 4 offloads, but not anywhere near as many as we saw from the Portuguese. They had 7 offloads throughout that first half, and that was opening up space for them as well. I should mention, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are 38 away from 37,250. So if you do want to hit that subscribe button, it is greatly appreciated. Also, if you do have Instagram, be sure to follow us on the Kiwi Lads Instagram. We will be posting one day very soon. If you do want to check that out, when it eventually goes up, I will put the link in the chat as well. Hang on, we'll go like this and we'll go like this. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, ladies and gentlemen. Flick us a message. Tell us what you're thinking of this Rugby World Cup, who your players are that you've been enjoying watching, etc. We will be responding to everyone on there. Good to know there are rules on this chat, says Chris there. And also we got their Fiji to improve dramatically second half, says Saturday player. And also we have got there, I wonder what Eddie Jones heart is doing right now. He'll be pretty nervous, I would say. Portugal is embarrassing to rugby, says Arif. Well, you obviously haven't been watching them throughout this Rugby World Cup, because I think the last word that people would associate Portugal with throughout this World Cup would be embarrassing. They have been a very impressive side, definitely with the ranking that they came into this Rugby World Cup with, the fact that they had their first ever draw in a Rugby World Cup and they've been as close as they ever have to picking up a victory has said exactly how well they've been playing. So I feel like probably showing your lack of, I was going to say intelligence, but that sounds harsh, but lack of, I guess, knowledge of the Rugby World Cup that we've seen so far. I think Portugal has been actually pretty good this Rugby World Cup, says Stormy. We have got there, as I doubt Eddie's even watching, and also Wales, New Zealand, England, South Africa, and pressure got to the Fijian, says Hanoi. And also Portugal is a good team. It has nothing to do with Fiji's performance, says Philippines. Exactly right. You've got to look through at the whole of the Portuguese ones. I was trolling, says Arif in there as well. And Portugal are actually doing good. I give them credit, says Rudy. And Fiji just need 1 point to go through, says Salvatore. Surprised Hamish is allowing Afrikaans, says Chris. Well, I don't speak it, so normally our Afrikaans moderators are the ones who keep an eye on that. And does Portugal have a bomb squad, says Xander? They have got the 5-3 split off the bench for this contest, including Appleton coming off the bench in the second half at some point. I think that will be for Jose Lima, probably hasn't been as prominent as we would normally see from Appleton. But I've mentioned it once and I'll mention it again. Subs are going to be so important in this game, getting them right in terms of what time you bring them on. Portugal having to make almost 100 tackles throughout that first half, so they will be fatigued. And what are your predictions for France versus the Box, says Baron? I believe in my original prediction I did say that the Box would win that one. What is the points given for a draw? So you get 2 points, which would be enough to put the Fijians through. Not only the Box has a bomb squad, says Rudy, and also we've got their next World Cup, Portugal going to be strong. I hope so, says Stone. I think the second half is going to be tough. And not saying Portugal is bad. The problem is Portugal got thumped by Australia last week and played 4 games in a row without rest. If Fiji is struggling against them, says Caleb. Now the two sides about to make their way back out onto the field. Major improvements needed by both. Portugal, if they can get just that little bit more going in terms of the phase play, I think will massively benefit them here. And then alongside that, for the Fijians, handling is the big one there. And Storti is such a creative back. Yeah, he's a brilliant player, Rafael Costa Storti, already beating over 20 defenders throughout this Rugby World Cup competition, which would probably put him, 20 would have to put him in the top, I'd say almost top 20 in the comp for the amount that he has beaten. And I'm voting for both teams here, and Fiji runners have poor support. I need to get their bikes, says Jimbo. And also came up with the name Bomb Squad. I thought it was a bot thing. And also South Africa win 39 points to 15 over France, says Andre. And remember, Uruguay beat Fiji in 2019, so Portugal can do it as well. And also Strezza said Fiji playing bad game, not helped by English referee bias calls, says Strezza. Although also the handling, Strezza. I want to hear you say it by the end of it, that the handling has also been a factor in the match. We are seeing match fixing here, says Cobra. Like I assume you're saying by the referees, or are you trying to say by Fiji for dropping the ball? Because they will look at that performance and that second half, they would have had the chat in the changing rooms and said, boys, we've got to hang on to this. At the end of the day, this is our chance to make it through to the quarterfinals. Do not blow it. Just try and keep that ball in play. Do you think Fijians have been paid to lose, says Jan? I would doubt it. I feel like the Fijians play with way too much pride. Like, that's the thing. When you look at what's happened for this Fijian side, more specifically Joshua Tuisova in this Rugby World Cup, like, they would not accept a bribe for what he's gone through over the last few weeks. Like, there's no way that he wouldn't play his heart out in this Rugby World Cup and would do anything less than try and win the World Cup in a legitimate manner. And he has just made the tackle there, but they're going back for another penalty advantage. The ref is fine, no problem. You can't blame the ref for handling errors, says Rudy. And also, we have got I love the Afrikaans grammar errors. It's cute. A+ for effort. Our foreign friends. And also, we've got God bless Fiji, says Paulini. It's a nice break. Oh, Naya Talevu has been sold the wrong way. He's almost ended up injuring his knee by the looks of it as well. I think Naya Talevu's probably going to be the first player who gets taken off. All these wangers keep suggesting game fixing. Says Peter, it's the people who love the conspiracy theories. There's always the grouping of them, isn't there? But yeah, why see a Naya Talevu? I honestly feel like this is the time to bring on a Sefamasi. And are they starting? They are indeed. So currently, 1 minute into the second half. Is it RIP Fiji, says Fiji Islander? Not yet. But they need to make sure they're doing better. Last 5 penalties have all been against the Fijians. They're going to strap them up. They want them to continue this match. Fiji winning will be an awesome culmination of my birthday weekend, says Denzel. In second half, Fiji pull away, says Salvatore. And to be fair, Portugal in their second half games, or second half of their matches, that is when they have conceded more points. So as long as Fiji can grind out this tough, like hard-fought area of the game, they should still be able to find themselves success. And the line-out is not working for Portugal. Tajir getting it wrong. Lamani now slinging it across to Joshua Tuisova. He will kick the ball. He doesn't often do that. Now straight down the middle. Now Storti looking for the kick of his own close to the touchline. Almost slipped in a touch for Frank Lamani, but he's done extremely well to keep the ball in the field of play. Are the words are mostly right? Are the order not so much? And thanks, mate. When will we see you again? I'm going, says Rudy. So the next one will be the quarterfinals of the Rugby World Cup, alongside a whole heap of other videos throughout the week. But the next World Cup quarterfinal match is going to be taking place at 4 a.m. New Zealand time on Sunday morning. So that'll be Saturday 5 p.m. for South African time. And glorious, Fiji, says Paulini. Portugal in possession once more. Passes on the outside. Jose Lima, the captain. Tackled on the halfway line by Viliami Mata. The pick and go around the side of the breakdown. Marquez now finding another flick pass up to Tejia. They're keeping the ball alive. Thought about the round the back pass there. But instead, it is Nicolas Martins. Moves to the 22 now for Portugal. Marquez again. Going back across to the left-hand side. Slinging pass. Tui Sova makes the tackle in the midfield. Another offload coming in. Lavani Portia driving the Portuguese fullback backwards. Hi, Hamish. Says Peter Mason. Welcome in. Now to the short side once more. Knock on again by Portugal. That is, at the moment, handling. I don't know what's happened to the ball, but no one can hang on to it. Someone rubbed the ball in butter. 37 minutes remaining. And the frustration not just on the Fijian faces, but also on the faces of the Portuguese as well. Tosso Vititoso says, Valerie, I should mention anyone who is new, be sure to hit the subscribe button. We are now only sitting 33 away from that 37,250. So if you do want to help us out, hit that subscribe button. It is free to do. You also get notified of when we are uploading videos and doing our live streams. We are going to be back next week for the quarterfinals. There's a great shot from Celestino Ravatamanda, hitting right on the ball to cause it to go through. And also Denzel said Fiji player even missed his son's funeral for his country and wouldn't take a dime of bribery because their hearts are in it. Fiji are a true Cinderella story of this edition of the Rugby World Cup, says Denzel. Exactly right. Like, these boys go out there each and every week and they play with the biggest heart that you see in a game of rugby, and they want to succeed, and they've now got themselves the penalty at scrum time for the wheeling. Tejia often doesn't feel like there should have been a penalty against the side. I still think the World Cup selection was unfair. It's always the same teams in the same pools. Mostly, why not mix up the pools so completely different, says Red Rampage, although they have admitted World Rugby that they messed up the draw, and they are going to be doing it in 2026 now rather than about 2.5 years beforehand. Fiji do not find touch with the kick downfield. Another mistake. They cannot afford to be doing that in this contest. Villamoni Botito, I believe it was that time, who got it wrong. Now Lamani, big boot, doesn't find the touchline there. Marquez putting it up high. Chasing after this one, I believe it is going to be Storti. In fact, it is the young number 10. Geronimo Portela doing well. Now going off to the right-hand side. Grubber in behind by the Portuguese. Foot race is won by Portugal. Rafael Costa Storti might have just scored the first try of the fixture. That man is dressed like Rey Mysterio in the crowd. But that was a brilliant kick in behind. Storti has got that X factor. And someone asked earlier on, who are the players to watch out for in terms of who might get overseas contracts? Storti's got to be right up there. They are checking it, though, to see whether or not, no, it is in the field of play and the try is given. But the mistake from Fiji, not finding touch with a simple kick from a penalty, has led to Portugal counter-attacking, scoring the try. If there was ever a time to go, hang on, what has happened there? It's got to be now for the Fijians. Aussie fans have hope, says Jimmy O'Brien, and Portugal will maybe do the same as Japan did in 2019, a major upset looming. Kiwi lad, says Red Rampage. And I also can't believe Portugal is ahead, says Xander. A great finish from Storti to be able to get around two players. What is happening? The Aussies are still alive, says Chris. Was that Pacifica Rey Mysterio? I think that was Portuguese Rey Mysterio. They checked the grounding. He was completely fine. Oh, you have got there. Hamish, I am a man, so do not get me wrong, please. But I love your accent. I can listen to you talking for hours. And we are back for hours next weekend, ladies and gentlemen. And we have got conspiracy theories. No country throws games in rugby counterproductive and immoral, says Dave there. Marquez to line up the kick. Has got it over as well. So that will make the score 10 points to 3 in favour of Portugal. Now, as the game currently sits, the Fijians are still going through to the quarterfinals. But if Portugal can extend that lead to more than 7, that is when it gets awkward for the Fijians. And well done, Portugal, says Aneki. This is one of the most embarrassing defeats of rugby history. Says Kummels there. And goodbye, Hamish. See you on Sunday for the big one. We will see you later on. Now taken again by Portugal. Counter-attack for them off kickoff. Tackling to either Fijians. Numbers on the left-hand side. And now looking for the miracle offload there. And speaking of miracles, here comes Fiji out the middle. Sarelli Mungwala, he's going to be running all the way to the try line. Almost he's been shut down by Portugal inside of the 22. This is end-to-end stuff, ladies and gentlemen, through the gap. Bilamoni Botitu within a metre. But Portugal, are they over the ball? No, they aren't able to go for it. 5 metres out, Fiji. It's as if that try was the wake-up call that they needed. They've got the advantage. 1 metre out from the line. Now over. Yes, they are. The Fijians fire straight back and get themselves the try. Lavani Botia gets the try. Did someone flick a switch like 2 minutes ago that said now teams are able to score tries? Lavani Botia, though, his first Rugby World Cup try. Look how the Fiji was set up in the second half, although what a run. First of all from Rodrigo Mata, all but able to go all the way alongside Nicholas Martens. But Sarelli Mungwala, that pace to be able to pick up that ball, didn't quite have the gas to be able to go all the way to the try line. Bonkers game, says Marcelo. Yeah, it's taken 48 minutes, but now both teams have a try on the board. We need to remember as well, Fiji get 3 more tries. That guarantees them their spot in the quarterfinals. And well done, Portugal. I hope Fiji get a wake-up call now, says Roger. I think they did. And now Frank Lamani lining up this kick. It is 22 metres out, and it has now gone over, ladies and gentlemen. 48 minutes in, 10 points to 10. I guess this game's wide open now. At least we now know that both sides have got the potential of scoring. Not an impressive try at all. Can't even set up a try like top 4 teams, says Kummels fan, but they scored it. They went from a counter-attack of Portugal to Sorelli Mungwala. They used their forwards well. I feel like that is a well-worked try for the Fijians. They could have easily tried to go for the offload in that breakdown, butchered it, and then Portugal could have gone the other way and scored themselves a try. So I feel like still need to give credit where credit is due. Sorelli Mungwala saw the ball went loose and then did go after it. It's kicked up high. Nicely taken there by Meri Derialangi. I almost forgot that man was playing. Certainly not seen him as much as we see Lakima Tangi Valu. This just got exciting. And stop that attack, Portugal, says Stormy. Now kicked high by Frank Lamani, getting as much on it as he can. Down towards the halfway line. Great take from the young number 10 again, Rodrigo Mata. Geronimo Portela it was. And back across to the left-hand side. Portugal once again have got plenty of numbers. The Portuguese, he's been hit in the throat. It's going to be possibly a Lavani Botti, a penalty against him. Looks like he's been hit in the throat. Lavani Botti is confused, but they're going upstairs. This is where the game could change here. Lavani Botti may end up with a yellow against him. And Chick says Jimbo. And the Oscar goes to, says Fiji Islander. Yeah, certainly, as soon as he got hit in that throat, he was down like a sack of spuds. Question is, how much contact was there? Normally when there's head on head, it's a yellow. If it's in the throat, it's probably a yellow as well. Right, the TMO review. So he steps. So he gets him. Bottia's head, forehead collides with the chin of the player. Now, with the change in direction, we saw one earlier on that was given as a yellow card for that same scenario, but it was only a yellow card because of the change of direction of the man stepping. It is going to be a yellow here for Lavani Botti, who can't quite believe it. He says he was ducking. But now 10 minutes, the Fijians down by 1 player. That is actually probably what's going to help the Fijians a little bit more, because they normally play better when they have less men on the field. Just look at the 7 side. I hope it's a rare card. Sick of this Fijian team playing so super, says Kummels. But yeah, like I mentioned, we saw one given earlier on. I believe it was in that... Was it the last game or the game beforehand that we saw the yellow card that stayed as a yellow because of the change in direction? Ladies and gentlemen, do let me know. Headbutt and pro wrestling is allowed. One on rugby, says Xander. And also, amateur commentary has taken us right into the game. Appreciate it, says Stormy. And there as well. And the Wallabies back on, says Jimmy O'Brien. I've just remembered it was actually the step in the Romania game, and the Tongan player did end up getting a yellow. I did not check Portugal try. I will check this tackle by still around, says Strazza. Although they did check at the TMO, we did hear him say we've checked it and the grounding is good. Now rolling more for Portugal. Sitting 5 metres out for the line. Fiji trying to stop this one's momentum, but Tajir off the back. Stopped just short of the line. I believe he's been held up just 1 metre out now from the try line. Fiji trying to slow it down just that little bit while it's in the breakdown. Now Francisco Fernandez, he likes his chances and he's over. Portugal score with the man advantage and they are back up to being in the lead. After they have Portugal win, says Mario. And Portugal milk that one, says Dylan. And also we have got their Go Fiji, says Paulina. And also we have got their Christopher Hamish told me. Says going Go Portugal, says Go Travel Planet. I think I'm going to turn my TV off now before it goes flying out the window, says Fiji Islander. And Eddie Jones must be smiling brightly at this moment. This is Portugal's big chance because they have got a man advantage. 3 tries in how many minutes? We have had now the 3rd try in the last 5 minutes or so of this contest. Nice work from Fernandez. And Quality Commentary Bro says, "Get him, thank you very much, mate. Anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are now only sitting the 25 away from our goal. Also, be sure to hit that like button if you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen." And Rick Carver says, "Anand, I'm happy. He told you Chloe Hamish blushes every time you are mentioned. And also, do you know where I can watch the game?" Says Diogo. "Depending on whereabouts you are in the world will depend on your options. But if you go onto the Rugby World Cup website, they should have the option of being able to see where you can watch. I really want Fiji to win. Australia needs to hit rock bottom to make the changes," says Xavier. And this will do Portugal win and Australia go home. Says Fleshin. That kick is also successful. Lavani Bortia, you can see how gutted he is with the fact that that was the try for the Portuguese. Another try Portugal, says Sam Wilson. "This is insane. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi," says Chris. Now it's knocked back by the Portuguese. Only sitting 20 metres out from their try line now. Marquez will be looking for the box kick. Now Fiji, they are down for 14 just for now. We'll have to wait to see whether or not it is going to be upgraded for Lavani Bortia. Not the best kick from Marquez. Keeping the pressure on his side as they are now. Oh. It's going to remain a yellow card because of the step. I said about it, how we saw it in that last game between Tonga because of the late step. It does remain as a yellow card here. And also feeling less bad about going to the Olobos. Says it was there earlier on. Where'd that go? That was from Gus. But now rolling maul. Lavani Bortia will return in 6 minutes' time. But for now, Fiji looking for this rolling maul, doing extremely well to continue bumping their way forward. Advantage now for side entry. And that will be the penalty to the Fijians. Number 7. Entry through the side. Nicholas Martins. Kiwi lad, have you been here? In South Africa, says Baron Jim. I have not. No, it is a place that I wouldn't mind going in the near future. Ask for the clock once more. Just enjoy the commentary. Says that it was there from Eric. But yeah, the clock at the moment is 53 at the moment. And there, and also Fiji are going home. And also we're there. Fiji will never make it. The ref knows. Says, yeah. Yeah. They're talking about the mitigation of the step. Is why it did remain at only the yellow. Matavesi now throwing it in. Stolen by Portugal, although taken straight back by the Fijians. It's available at the back. Matavesi going across to Viliami Mata. Now, as they keep on going back and forth in this contest, we must remember 4 tries for Fiji gets them through to the quarterfinals. And that is exactly what they are chasing here. They have got themselves one so far. Lamani with the sling and pass. Great step there in the midfield from Vilamoni Bortitu. Now Lamani looks to shift it off left. Naif the Levu decides that he wants to have the run himself. Lamani cross to Luke Tangi. Portugal not missing many tackles just out from their own try line. And it has been evident in the way that Fiji have scrambled trying to find their next gap. Nice step from Meri Langi. Tackled by Tajir. Now off to the left-hand side, Diawaru, Recadavita driven backwards by Fernandez and Nicholas Martins. Now Vinaya Bossi with the sniping run. He was the super sub last week. The question is, who for Fiji will be it for this week? Surely it can't happen, says Opal. Now Fiji around the side again, just with the pick and goes. This is using up a lot of time of the Lavani Botia yellow card. Celestino, that's a slide tackle there from the Portuguese player. I don't think he meant to, but he slipped and led with the studs. Doesn't sound like they are checking it though. Lamani now in behind to Villamoni Botitu. 3 men on the outside. So Rally Mawala straightens with his run. Gets the legs pumping. 10 metres from the line now. Getting ragdoll as he made his way to the turf. Teowaru Thurikaravita. Now 5 metres for the Fijians. Round the side, it's a knock on though from Portugal. Sorry, from Fiji. What are the permutations? That mean Fiji get knocked out. So Fiji, if they lose by 8 points, they will be knocked out of the competition. Portugal calling for the line out. Not too sure whether or not they will get it. Come on, Portugal, another try before you play against 15 men, says Naomi. Okay, Luke Beers has said, you play, we ref. Although, still would have liked to see that slide again. That's a yellow in soccer, red if showing stud, says Gus. Yeah, I think the reasoning behind it is they've said that it was just a slip. And Leka Commentary says, Marcus, thank you very much. And also OMG Fiji How, but it is going to be a Fijian line out now, 15 metres out from the line. They have got a stoppage as at the moment Francisco Fernandez is leaning up against the post as if he is a soldier who's been shot. And I think it's for this challenge here. Wrapping the arm and just really getting the stinger on the shoulder when Tiawaru Thurikaravita charged straight at him. We have got come on Fiji, says Graham. And also, who the hell is Portugal? Says Mumbo Jumbo Kibble. They are looking like a very good side at the moment in this contest. Anyone who is new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. He looked if to says Mumbo Jumbo. We've seen 94 tackles made by Portugal so far throughout this game. And substitute of Frank, says Blues Nate. Although that would be instead, they would go with Penny Matawalu, who's had very limited game time. But I honestly believe that Villamoni Botitu, he's probably not too far away from getting replaced. Naif the level, I think, has to go off, even though he is the captain. I think that he would be better off and Osifamasi on the field. We know what he can do for the Fijian draw. He's a try-scoring machine. Now Francisco Fernandez, he will make his way from the field with the injury. So it's okay to slip and potentially injure someone, but it's not okay to accidentally catch someone, I see. So yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? That there was no checks. That's a new advantage for the Fijian. Sam Matavisi around the side of the breakdown once more. Currently 24 minutes remaining. Drop ball from Tuisova. And they will go back now for another Fijian penalty. Did someone get a red? Only a yellow card for Lavani Botia, who is now off the field for another 3 minutes. And come on, Fiji. And also, let's go Portugal, says Blackie Jules. Well, the Fiji says Love Mooney in there. And also, Aussie's already on the Qantas flight. The pilot is making a U-turn, says Chris. Now 5 metres for Fiji between them and the try line and a possible second try. But Portugal's defence, this close out from the line, has been immense. They haven't been breaking, although they are starting to get a little bit more ill-disciplined. Which could hurt them in the long run. Almost stolen, but back into the hands of Luke Tangi now for the Flying Fijians. Vinaya Habusi with the pick and go. And Portugal, their forwards are physical, and I think that's exactly what they knew they needed to do, although now another penalty advantage in favour of Fiji. This is just stopping the ball from coming out. It's got to be close to a penalty. He's got it now. Lamani slinging past Tuisova. It's gone through his hands again. He's frustrated as that is 2 knock-ons in a row, 5 metres out from the line, and they will go back for another penalty to the Fijians. And does Aussie go through if Portugal wins? Not necessarily. If Portugal win by 7 or less, the Fijians will still advance on the technicality of the head-to-head because they will receive that bonus point. And Tosso Boys Tosso, and Australia might actually get through, says Memes and Streams, and got to have a yellow, says Jimbo. There looks like Fiji want to go for the quick tap now. Going old school. Frank Lamani, change of tactic, taking the quick tap off to Luke Tangi. Portugal rushing up to cut off the Fijian attack. Another great low tackle Frank Lamani. Going to the right-hand side, Tuisova hanging on to that one, and when he hangs on to the ball, he is, of course, one of the more dangerous players in this Fijian backline. Now, big run from Viliami Mata. Is that head contact? Do they need to have a look at that one? Now, Tuisova, oh, he's just knocked a man unconscious. Oh, no, he's back up. He's woken up from his sleep. Round the side for Naihabossi. He's dropped the ball as well for the Fijians. The scramble defence of Portugal doing enough to keep this ball in their favour. Just a knock on. And also, let's go Portugal. Says the Faya there. It's raining there in France. It is not. It is a late night game, so we've got the slipperiness to deal with. 42 seconds remaining of the Lavani Botia yellow card. So far, they have ended up with 1 try scored. Match fixing, says Ruan. Match fixing will call Eddie. So are you saying that Portugal are match fixing, or Fiji are match fixing, or the English referee? Who are you saying is actually doing it? And my heart is breaking for Fiji, says Dylan. I need to bring on the subs for 9, 12, 13 and 2. Matavesi throws it in, taken at the front now by Meri Dirialangi. And the rolling ball for Fiji commences once more. 20 minutes remaining on the clock. They have been shut down. Luke Pearce just asking the TMO if everything is all right, and by the sounds of it, it is. Roni Maui now going for, losing his footing to Gia. Mani back again to Viliami Mata. Mani crossed to Tuisova. And I think that there was a little bit of PTSD there from the Portuguese player. He was actually almost backing off before Tuisova ran at him, as he didn't want to take that contact pass on the outside. It is forward from the Fijians. And another scrum. They will be back to 15 men now. Eddie. So you're saying Eddie Jones has match fixed this one. And Fiji playing really bad, says Rowan. And what Fijian is missing, his son's funeral to play this game, says Chris. So it is Joshua Tuisova. Tragic news for that man. And yeah, it's a pretty tricky one to play through, I think. But Tuisova is still playing for his country. Matavesi off the field now for Ikanaveri. Masaki Donge coming onto the field for Luke Tangi. I have to say, I'm hoping there's a couple of changes in the back line there as well. Appleton is coming onto the field for Betancourt. That is for the head injury assessment. I mentioned how Tuisova knocked a man unconscious. That was that guy. Why are they so bad, says Rowan? Unfortunately, the handling has just really been hurting Fiji. And the benefit that they've got if they do make it through to the quarterfinals is they will have themselves an earlier game. It seems to be the late night games just aren't quite the ones for the Fijians when it comes to their handling. And I'm Fijian, and I hope they lose, says Kimmel's fan. And also, it must be very hard for him, says Chloe. And also, no, this is unlike Fiji, says Andre. And also, we have got there as well, what happens if you do match fixing? You get banned from the sport. You'd probably end up with a hefty lawsuit against you. Big push there. I think Luke Tangi. Yeah, it's going to be, wait. Luke Pearce had the advantage and then he gave it away. Decided against giving it. Now Vinay Habossi, 20 minutes remaining now. He's got space and a lot to work with on the field. Tackled low though by Appleton. Now I see a knife to lever out to Celestino Ravatamunda. That's a penalty against Fiji, or it should have been. Yes, it was. YC Levu, a massive brain fade there. Joining the breakdown from the Portuguese side. If they want a chance of winning, they have to take that man off the field right now. Osefu Masi is waiting. He'll be chomping at the bit. But joining the breakdown from the Portuguese side, you don't see that in under nines. But Fiji at the moment are just making mistake after mistake at the moment, and it is heavily costing them in this contest. Let's go, Portugal, let's go. All right, Levu, he is now going to be making his way from the field. Here comes Osefu Masi, but is it too little too late for the Fijians now? We've got rigged, says John. Fiji are terrible. Says Cummels, and Portugal need 1 point. Let's go. And also we've got there, Portugal, says Jimmy O'Brien, and they desperate, says Africa unite. Yeah, he realised. But the thing is, theoretically, why Levu only joined that breakdown from the wrong side? Because there was no forward in sight. I don't know what's happened for the Fijian fullback, but no one's getting those clean-outs. I don't know if Portugal have out-muscled them and weird them down. That's going to be taken nicely by the Portuguese, now going to the short side. Here comes Martens. Tackled by Tavera Ikanaveri. Look at that, Tavera just got back. Aussie have a chance, says Blackhand. They certainly do. Lavani Porti, a great bit of work from him to get over. Doesn't win the turnover. Marquez goes to Tajir, who's knocked the ball on counter-attack. Now Lamani, he's got the fresh men on his outside, but Vanaya Bossi goes for the grubber and behind. Wrong choice from the Fijians once more. Now Jose Lima tackled. That was a forward pass from the Portuguese, but a late shot coming in from Celestino Ravatamanda. Knock on. Now Portia knocks it on as well, although he's kicked the ball forward, so it's play on, is it? What's going on? Luke Pearce is just letting this game flow. Ball's popped out the side. Lavani Botti is over it and he wins a penalty for Fiji. I had no idea what just happened there. I don't think the referee did either. He just pretty much went, right, everything's just happened. We'll just let it all flow and hope that it sorts itself out. Not releasing penalty goes the way of Fiji now. How many minutes left now? 17. Wasn't that a forward pass, says Mimini? I mean, we saw a forward pass. We saw 2 knock-ons that weren't called. It's all on for young and old in this last group stage fixture. Hansi was a good person. Says it was there from Chloe. And also we're going to go Fiji go, says David. In there as well. Fiji out? Not yet. And that's the problem with the island side's very inconsistent, says Blackhand. God bless Fiji, says Paulini. And it was a lot of passes. Like that goes under the radar, says Robin. Stolen by Portugal again at line out time. The first throw from Tavera Ikanaveri is not successful. Ball comes out the side. Marquez will go for the kick downfield. Australia through as it stands. At the moment, they would not be through. Currently still a chance for the Fijians as long as the score stays like this. The only reason I support Portugal today is I want to see Eddie Jones' reaction. We are still alive. Now, back downfield. Portugal running this one back. 40 metres out from their line. Jose Lima again goes for the offload. Now the Portuguese, I should mention, they are chasing their first ever win in the Rugby World Cup. Kick downfield from Makesh. Goes to Villamoni Botitu. Kicked up high now. Chasing after his own kick. Looks like there is a player down for the Portuguese. So they are theoretically playing with 14 men at the moment. Marquez goes for the kick behind. Looking for the 50-22. Cleaned up by the Fijians. And now Botitu will kick it for the touchline. And it does go into touch. It's hit the spider cam. As if this game hadn't already had enough controversy. Now the thing is, it's going to be a Fijian ball scrum down because he's hit the camera or the spider cam. This game, It's had a little bit of everything. Fiji haven't mentally prepared for this World Cup. They haven't been. They've been more inconsistent after the big games. I was hopeful, says Tuta, and they need fresh legs, says Dimitri. I feel like at the moment I would like to see. For Portugal, they'll have to make a sub here because that player is down and looks quite injured. But I'd like to see Tite Tela make his way onto the field. I know it's a big call because he was the player who almost cost them that last game up against Georgia. But I think that now is the time. Now Vincent Pinto about to make his way onto the field. I want Fiji to go through, but honestly, this is the easiest game here. What is going on? It says Fleshin, and it's a pity that Portugal can't play England in the quarters. And this is unreal, says Andre. So yeah, Pinto will be coming onto the field. That is to replace Manuel Cardoso Pinto. He's had a very impressive performance at fullback, putting everything into this contest. And Hansi was a good person. He's pretty specific. Mid-30s is my guess, says Gareth. And there's, and yeah, I've already lost hope. I hope Australia do actually get through, says Fiji Islander. Now 15 minutes remain. The pilot is confused. Not sure where to go. Just circling the French airport, says Chris. Will rugby grow in Portugal now? I hope it does because they've talked about it. Appleton, their captain, has said all the way through they want to build Portuguese rugby for the future generation so that they can look up and say, we want to be like those players who are out there on the field. Fiji scrum is strong. It's going to be their advantage now. Lamani looking to go off to this left-hand side. So far, game line success. We've seen a lot more for the Fijian. Sareli Mangwale. He's got Osefa Masi on his inside. Risky offload, but Vinaya Habosi cleans it up. And Masi joins the breakdown. Now Lomani, big crashing run from Viliami Mata. Fiji slow to get into there for the breakdown, but the Portuguese giving away the penalty advantage. Ikanaveri passes it back across the Tui Sobas, his knee chopped out from underneath them. And they will go back for the original penalty once more. How long left, Hamish? Your clock is stuck on 53. 1 moment, we will go like that. There we go. Has updated itself. We're up to 66 minutes throughout this game, ladies and gentlemen. Does seem like it is going to go down to the wire. And the thing is, if Fiji score now, that would almost secure themselves a spot in the quarterfinals. But if they aren't able to score, Portugal still have the hopes of not just winning this game, but knocking Fiji out of the Rugby World Cup competition. This World Cup needs the Aussies in the knockouts. And this is nuts, says Joel. Now, Taveta Ikanaveri, he didn't get the line out right last time. 2 times to the front. Fiji have not found success. This time going to the middle, and it works well. Soana Sila brings it down for Fiji, rolling forward quite nicely. Portugal, they have to make a decision very soon whether or not they drag this down illegally. Taveta Ikanaveri, though, gets out the side. Ball available for Fiji, 5 metres out from the try line now with another leg drive. It is Luke Tangi, or in fact, sorry, Masaki Donge. Now, low tackle made on Ikanaveri. Lavani Botia flattening out another advantage against Portugal. This is where their discipline is starting to let them down, as that will be repeated infringements just out from their try line. Taveta Ikanaveri within inches of the line once more. Still an advantage round the side this time. Fiji score again. And this time, who is it who's face down in the dirt? It's Masaki Donge. Fiji save, I think, says Blackhand. And not this Wallaby team, says Gus. And I'm Fiji, or go Fiji, I'm from Fiji, although I live in Canada now. How much time is left for the game now? There is still another 12 minutes remaining. Fiji off their feet at ruck. Says Eric and fly time. Says James there and cheers, mate, says Chris. And yeah, go Fiji, says yeah. And there as well. They are just checking this one to see whether or not it is going to be a try. And face down in the dirt was Eddie Jones too, says the Australian Health Show. And also Fiji don't deserve it, says Annoy. Okay, they've just said the try is good. I've heard from the TMO and Eddie packing his bag again. Says Anna can't handle it, says Jimbo. Yeah, this game has been an absolute seesaw of emotions for these two supporters based at the ground. That Rey Mysterio was still sitting there. He was still clapping as well for that try of Portugal, which I feel like is quite nice to see. And disgraceful referee, says Eric there. Although, in that case, of course, already given away 2 penalty advantages just out from their line, Portugal, so more than likely would have been going back for a quick tap anyway. And double movement, says Annoy, and show them Portugal we can do it, and Eddie probably happy. He won't have to coach Australia and Japan at the same time, says Dylan. How long do we have now? It is sitting at 17-17 with 69 minutes gone. Okay, Rodrigo Mata going off the field now. And Martins going off for Granate. Now, Martins has had a good game overall for Portugal. Probably one of the standout players for them. And this contest, the Fijian flags from Min. And Eddie disappointed one more time, says Ray Rourke. And also England will destroy Fiji if this is them, says Casey Jones. Although it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because England, a lot of people would say they played their worst game up against the Samoans of this Rugby World Cup. It's come off the shin of the Fijian player, so it is going to be play on. Luke Pearce pointing to his knee, saying no knock on. Now Fiji will be going for this box kick. And also no, Portugal, says Stormy. Tackles missed so far. Portugal have missed 27, but they have made 150 throughout this game. Come on, Fiji, says Vitolia. And come on, Fiji, says Blessed beyond measures. And 17 points to 22 soon, says Giannis. Is that in favour of the Portuguese, I assume, with the order that you have got it in? Now Tajir. Throw this one in. Should mention anyone who is new to the channel. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are getting closer to the 37,300 marks. If you do want to help us get there, hit that subscribe button. You will get notified of all the live streams and videos that we've got coming up. Now, backline movement here. It's going to be Rodrigo Morta on the near side of the field. Low tackle made by Tavita Ikanaveri with the rush defence. Now, every time Fiji score, Portugal look to fire straight back, but Tajir again, the handling error from him. Big drive and run here from the replacement, number 17, Penny Ravai. Now, Tavita Ikanaveri also making the meters, very flat pass from Frank Lamani, gives it off to Asefa Masi. Another offload, the draw boys linking up. Fiji moving up to 22 meters out. Lavani Botia kicking that one. And it's going to, it almost stayed in the field of play for Sorelli Mungwala, but it is going to go into touch. And now the line out for the Portuguese. Toso Vititoso, says Matthew. And then also, can we get a shout out? Where'd that go? Shout out for Mr. Eddie Jones, says Xander. And also, what will happen if the score is 17-17? Then on the technicality, Fiji will go through. They will have more points than the Australians if this is the way that it sits. And truck full of fridges smashing down the pitch, says Jimbo. Yeah, already the bench has had an impact for the Fijians, whether that is Penny Ravai, whether that is Tavita Ikanaveri, even Masaki Donge, the man who scored the last try. I've seen 27 tackle breaks for the Fijians in this game, 16 for Portugal. They have certainly been up for the challenge, muscling up. Looks like now Thomas Appleton will make his way back off the field. That is for Pedro Betancourt, who they've decided to keep out there. And awesome pronunciation, awesome work, bro, says Joel there. Thank you very much. And also, as this live, I fell asleep waiting for that useless thong game. Says, fight through, this game is live indeed. Currently 71 minutes down, 17-17, and Portugal managed to retain their line out. Irish, I like you. Absolutely honest. I detest corruption in any way. My hat is off to you. Says Stull, and Fiji, put your nuts into it. Says Denzel, well, putting the bodies into it first would be a good start, but then I guess if the nuts are involved, then the nuts are involved. That could be a slogan, couldn't it? And let's go, Tosa Viti, or Tosa Fiji, says Malu. I speak better New Zealandish than I speak Afrikaans. And also we have got there just one drop goal, says Richard. And yes, the Fijians and Fiji show, says Blackhand. Now, Lamani, 30 metres out from the line. Vinay Habossi tackled early, and it's actually going to be an offside penalty in favour of the Fijians now. Albert Tui Sui. Now, they won't be in any rush to get rid of this advantage, I wouldn't think. Because theoretically, they can always go back. Okay, they've lost the ball, stripped well by, I believe it was Geronimo Portela. And now Fiji have got themselves the penalty again. Thanks for this commentary, bro. No free live streaming in Brisbane, only Wallabies games. Let's go the All Blacks, says Sydney. And there's on Australia. We'll be showing a lot of respect to the boomerang because we see one being thrown at this World Cup, says Tuta. And also, we've got their Fiji hammering the final nail in Eddie's coffin. And it looks like the Fijians will be taking on the 3 points here with Frank Lamani. And also, despite their handling errors, it's a really interesting match, says Rishan, and don't deserve to go through to the quarters. And also, we have got their Let's Go Fiji. You deserve a place in the quarters, says Peter. And that's the thing, maybe Fiji, when we look at their last 2 games between them and Georgia and them in Portugal, maybe the Fijians were looking at those quarterfinals as their big matchup. And perhaps if they do make it through, when they go to that quarterfinal, who knows, maybe a whole different beast of a Fijian side do manage to show up. But Lamani to give Fiji the 3-point lead for the first time since the opening half of the contest. Lamani, the crowd is silent. He has got it over Fiji now, 17 points to 20 up. Best commentary in the rugby champ, says Olive. Thank you very much, mate. Oh my goodness, what a match, says Stahlberger. Yeah, it's certainly going to be going down to the wire. 7 minutes remaining. Hi guys, just tune in. How's the pace of the game? It's been very fast paced. There's been a lot of handling errors, but overall with the amount of handling errors we've had, we haven't actually had a huge amount of scrums, I don't believe. And it's taken Fiji 73 minutes to take the lead, says Fiji Islander, of course, except for when they were in the lead throughout a majority of the first half. Chloe lives in Lavender Hill, Cakedown, says South Nation, and Fiji showing great fight, says Dylan. But now Mike Tajir making his way from the field. He's had a big performance. He's not off the field yet, so I think they took that a little bit early, Portugal. They had to wait for Mike Tajir to get all the way off. Now 20 metres out from their own line. Fiji cannot afford to concede a try right now, but they can afford to use up a little bit more time on the clock. This World Cup is quite a rough one when it comes to these refs, says Nathan. And Portugal should just relax. It's not like they need to make it to the quarter, says Summer. Although, we've got to remember for Portugal, this will be their first ever Rugby World Cup victory. They have never had one before. They had a draw up against the Georgians. So to be able to get over the line in this contest would be absolutely huge for them. Thanks for such an unbiased commentary, says Stuart. No worries at all. And as you guys know, we do try our best to be completely down the middle no matter the game that has taken place. Both of these sides, they've had their rough moments, but they both deserve credit in some regard for what they've been able to do throughout this one. Taking a long time to throw that one, the Portuguese replacement hooker, and already the mistakes are starting to flow. Fiji back in position, 45 metres out from the line. Lamani goes across to Asoana Sila, trying to charge straight up the middle of the park. Now short ball from Tite Tella, going to Asifo Masi, the two replacements getting involved here early. Te Ahoaru Frekaravita. Taken down, Portugal, going to end up with the penalty advantage and the penalty against them. Don't do that, says Luke Pearce, referring to Frank Lamani, giving the Portuguese player a big smack on the backside. They're not rolling away. A Fiji exclamation, new rugby rule, doing a game of favour. Reputation, it's always going to be more passionate than an adopted country representation, says Safiso. And also we have there Eddie biting his nails, and Tosa Vititoso, says Simran, and been impressed with some tier 2 nations, says Africa Unite. Yeah, I said at the start of the competition, Portugal, for me, we're going to be the team that people didn't expect to do well that would. Yes, they have lost every single one of their games except for the one that they've drawn, but they've been a lot closer in there. We have got the Eastern Cape. And also awesome, amazing pronunciation, bro, says DP. Thank you very much. But now Frank Lamani lining up another kick. And not only that, this uses up a bit more time on the clock for the Fijians now. Using up as many seconds as he can. And Lamani has got another one. 6-point lead now for the Fijians. And my wish in your comments will be on the faith and the guts of my Fiji team, says Galoa. Been a great tourney for many, says Gerhard. Yes, a lot of those lower-ranked sides have impressed a lot of people, which is absolutely awesome to see. The box will eat Portugal alive, says Dylan. They do not play. We have got the enjoy the rugby and refrain from biased, says Clarence, and table tennis for Eddie Jones. And all the girls are actually guys, says Mimini. And great World Cup for the Portuguese. This will be good for the game in Portugal, and they scored some great tries, says Porter. And I should mention the game is not over as of yet. Portugal now almost ending up with that ball inside of the Fijian 22, but a bit of a miscommunication now allows Sareli Mangwala to charge ball once more, sitting 40 metres out from their own line. Fiji with 3.5 minutes left on the clock. Hamish cut his own lawn, lads, says it was there from Nate. And cheers, Hamish. Primo commentary, says Neville. And cheers, Eddie, says Stephen there. And the finalists will come from Pool A and Pool B in any case, says Stefan. Nice Fiji, says Paulini. Now Portugal, 3 minutes remaining on the clock. Now for their sake, they want to get one try here, convert. Oh, injury. Who dat? That was a Masaki Donge, who has stayed down, and a line break almost had to be tackled by the medic in that case for Appleton. Now Marquez sniping around the side of the breakdown. Gets it off to Samush. Now Marquez, just mentioned about Shamush having his debut in 2013 up against none other than the Fijians. Hey, bro, I think you should go for a commentator, you good man, says Ether. Thank you very much. And also, we've got there the Fijian flags from Mary. Now the back line for Portugal. Quick hands, nicely worked out towards the wing. I believe that's now David Wallace. Haven't seen Masaki Donga get back up. That's a brilliant sniping run from the Portuguese number 14. Try for Portugal. And they will now have a chance to take the lead with 2 minutes remaining in this contest. It was once again Rafael Costa Storti. He has got man of the match if Portugal win this game because of what he's able to do. But that will now make the score 22-23. The kick to come in, and it is not a difficult kick, ladies and gentlemen. Portugal had the same chance last week up against the Georgians. Can they right those wrongs? And can they convert that kick? No pressure on the kicker, says Matthias there. And also kick to win, says Black-handed Eddie off his seat, says Vishnu. And toughest conversion And also Mr. Kit says Vernon in defence, boys, says Semi. And there as well, you can see the Portuguese bench absolutely ecstatic with what they've seen, but it's Rodrigo Marta, who does score it. Or does he? We've got the time off, ladies and gents. This try might be taken away. They just want, oh no, they want to make sure where he's kicking from. That is what they're working out. He has taken it very wide, the Portuguese player. So I feel like he could take it in a few more steps. Mr. Kick says Simran there. What a game, says Mana. It's inside of the 15. So he will be able to take the kick a little bit closer to the post now. They are just looking at where he was able to finish the job. One step inside of the 15. A chance here for the young Portuguese, or in fact it's a veteran, Marquez, who will be in charge of lining up this kick. There isn't a lot of wind, about 7 degrees. There is still 1 minute 15 remaining on the clock as well, I should mention, ladies and gentlemen. Do you get a point for losing? If Fiji are within 7, they will receive the bonus point and they will still go through to the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals. I just watched on another stream, says JP. And also we have got there, that kick has gone over from Marquez now, ladies and gentlemen. So that gives Portugal the 24 points to 23 lead with only 1 minute remaining. Now, as we sit currently, the Fijians are still going to the quarterfinals. But Portugal might be walking away with their first ever win in a Rugby World Cup competition. But if Portugal score once more, they can knock the Fijians out of the comp. And I honestly feel like for Portugal, it's not worth that risk. I feel like for now, they need to make sure that they are just securing the win, and they've got 20 seconds remaining. Australia will be sitting here watching, begging the Portuguese to go for one last crack, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be the case. Portugal with 15 seconds now left on the clock. Fiji, counter-ruck. I don't think the Fijians realise that they are in a position of the losing bonus point. They will still go through, but Portugal will win their first ever contest in a Rugby World Cup game. The Fijians have booked their spot with England, and Australia and Eddie Jones are heading back to Australia. Yeah, good there. Well, what a game, says Brian there, and so harsh on Australian nerves. Yeah, the fact that they had to watch that last 30 seconds of Portugal accepting the fact that they were ahead by 1 point, knowing that they were going to be missing out. You can see the tears flowing for Portugal. Appleton mentioned it earlier on, how they're trying to inspire the next generation with their first ever win in a Rugby World Cup. I would say they have done just that. Great game, says Gerard. What a game, says Barron, and great upset. And also thank you all the Portuguese supporter. And also we've got Nando's giving away free chicken tomorrow, says Mimania. And also bye-bye Australia, says Muzi. So anyone who is curious about the way that the semi-finals does set up, or the quarterfinals, my apologies, it is going to be, here we go, Wales versus Argentina. That is match numero uno. Number 2, Ireland versus New Zealand. The third game is now confirmed. It will be England versus Fiji. Even though they were defeated in this game, they did what they needed to. They lost within 7. So they will still advance to take on the English in the quarterfinals. And then France versus South Africa. That will be the final quarterfinal fixture that we are covering on the channel. We are doing every single game of this World Cup. So if you are new, be sure to leave a like and also hit that subscribe button. Awesome. I put a bet on Portugal when Fiji scored, says TP. What a match. That's thanks, Hamish. And also congratulations, Portugal, says Jacqueline. And so Australia go through and Fiji are out. That is a lie. Fiji make their way through because the Australians lost the head-to-head to the Fijians. So the way that the table sits currently before this game did take place, as you can see, the Fijians, because they lost this game by the 1 point, their points differential for one would be +5, which would be ahead of the Australians, but it is head-to-head that they look at, and due to Fiji beating Australia, it means that they are going through to the quarterfinals. So we have got there, who is this? England playing in the semis. At this stage, England will be facing the winner of France versus South Africa. And what an upset, can't believe it, says Audrey. And also, is that the pool game's over, says Black Hand. It is. We have covered all 40 of the games of the pool stages over the last 5 weekends. And it has been quite an experience, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to meet so many new people, which I am forever thankful for. If you do want to help support the channel, hit that subscribe button. We are back for the quarters when Fiji will be taking on the English, but the Portuguese number 14, Rafael Costa Storti. It could be no other than that man for the man of the match. 4 parts in the build-up to Portugal try, not checked. Given sad refereeing, it will be worse refereeing than Fiji. Play loser England. Says Strazza, I thought Australia get a second chance. Says Walter, not quite. Only if the Fijians had lost this game by 8 rather than the one. Well done, Portugal, and awesome commentary. Hamish, thank you very much. And Fiji don't go to the quarterfinals, only top team 2 in each table, says Nate. Exactly right. And now with Fiji getting that bonus point, they move into number 2 on the table. So they will be making their way through to the next stage, as that table that I showed you guys was from before the result of this game had taken place. As we see there, Fiji up to 11 on the table, so they are in second. Wales are in first with the 19. And who is Storti's club? I am not sure, but they're going to have to make sure they pay him a lot of money, because or else he'll be going overseas and getting some good money wherever he plays, because he has beat over 25 defenders throughout this Rugby World Cup competition. Great commentating, very impressive performance, says the Australian Health Show. And also, thanks, Hamish. Enjoy the few days off, says Manus. And also, this is when the Southern Hemisphere sides start playing, says Blackhand. And Scotland should take Fiji's spot, says Cody Garbrandt. Well, it's interesting because of the top 9 sides around the world, everyone is in the quarterfinals except for Scotland. They are the only team that missed out in the top rankings. Can't believe how Fiji progressively got worse throughout their pool games, poor coaching and prepping, says Philippines. We will have a video coming out in the near future as well, ladies and gentlemen, of a review of this game. But alongside that, we are also going to be doing our lineup prediction for Fiji, what we feel will be the strongest team they can put out there to try and take down the English. They've done it before. They did it before this World Cup got underway. Top show and top game, says Bruce. And there. And also, congratulations, Portugal. All hearts, boys. And thanks, Hamish, you're a legend. And thanks for being a great sport with all the banter and jokes, says Cobra. And also, Hamish, who plays the winner of Ireland versus All Blacks in the semis. That will be the winner of Wales versus Argentina. They will make their way through for that next one. And also, well done, Portugal. Good win. Fiji shambly and disgraceful quarterfinal entry. Go lose to England with your bad play, says Jack. But then the thing is, we've got to remember Portugal, for one, Portugal played a very strong game of rugby. 2, Fiji theoretically, by receiving that losing bonus point, they've still done enough throughout this group stage, if that makes sense. If it wasn't Fiji, it was going to be Australia, who lost to Fiji for the first time in 69 years. That's 3 times my age, the last time that the Fijians beat Australia. So it's one of those cases of, would you prefer a Fijian side that, yes, they're struggling at the moment, but there's still a chance of on the up trying to find that form again? Or would you prefer an Australian side that's hit rock bottom about 4 weeks ago and looked like they had 1 foot off the plane or on the plane for their last 2 games? I'll be honest, I much prefer to see Fiji in that quarterfinal, because I feel like they've still got something left in the tank. Eddie Jones pulling the engine out for the full rebuild, mate, says Philippines. And mate, they ain't beating England. England's going to take advantage of all Fiji's weaknesses, mainly the handling. It's so easy to rip the ball from them. England are going to take advantage of it, says Caleb. Press like button, says Cobra, and Eddie Jones will be crying, says Kevin. In 2019, they lost to Uruguay, says Africa. And now 2020, or 23, sorry, they have lost to the Portuguese, but they are through to the quarterfinals. That is a big difference. Losing to Uruguay cost them their spot. This time has still got them through. Fiji lost momentum, thanks to the commentary, says Kenneth. And yeah, there's some selections that need to be made. 3 times your age, how old are you? Says Shaylin. Well, 69 divided by 3. That's how old I am. And it's actually the amount of tries, or the amount of points, that Fiji got for themselves in this game. Fiji will be different in a knockout situation, says, but I really feel bad for Scotland, number 5 in the world, but into a group with ranking 1 and 2. Why is that even possible? They did say that they got the draw wrong, and they are going to be doing it a lot closer to the next World Cup. But yeah, it does hurt for the Scottish, the fact that they were always in that uphill battle. But to their credit, they still fought hard throughout the majority of those games. Thanks for the great commentary, Hamish, says Biff Jones. And Ollie Moses, Hamish was born in 2000. Not quite. 1999. I just snuck in as a 90s child. So that's something, I guess, for myself. And fair play to Portugal, says Yetta there. And how does Fiji perform exceptionally against the bigger teams and lose to the smaller teams, says Dummy Pass? I think it's just the mentality side of things, as well as, I mean, we've seen a lot of handling errors and whatnot throughout the last couple of weeks. Fiji out or not, they are through to the quarterfinals. Even with this defeat, they will be making their way. Oh, we have got the super sticker from Mumbo Jumbo. So young Hamish, says Chris. And great for the Portuguese rugby. Congrats to the team, says Mundo. And great result today. Portugal wins, Fiji go through, and Australia goes home, says Michael. And there as well. But I do thank you all very much for tuning in over this weekend. We have still got plenty more coming in the near future, whether it is the lineup predictions. We will be releasing the lineups when they are announced. And then also previews, reviews, the live commentary next week. Is Fiji out? They are not. They are through to the quarterfinals where they will be taking on the English. So it should be a big game, but a rematch of what we did see before the Rugby World Cup. But I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you all for the next one.